Finally, SWTOR's premium, premier, most viewed, most anticipated, and most consistent PvP podcast is back. Let's talk about PvP. This time the theme is manipulation, because that's been a spicy topic over the last couple of days. I'm joined by the delightful Shekshas, the always effervescent Kreia, the face cam reveal of Cersei, and the delightful Capri-san. I feel dirty calling you. I'm not calling you Capri-san. I'm calling you Capri-san. That's the end of it. We're done. And we're going to be discussing all the ongoing changes, what's happened in PvP. We haven't done one of these since, I think, September was the last time we did one. So there's a few things to go through. To start off, we're going to do a little bit of an introduction and a little bit of a meet and greet so everyone knows who everyone is. This was Kreia's idea, by the way. So, Chocolate Thunder, can you explain who we are and why we have massive lush cocks?
Yeah, man, I'm everyone. I'm Holy Mind, IQ Sorcerer. No, I'm just kidding. Now I'm Kreia. I play a lot of Assassin. Like doing solo ranked. I like making guides. It's me.
This was your whole idea, and I was expecting a lot more from you on that one, Kreia.
Hey, man, gotta stay humble. Hashtag humble.
Hey, I am more humble than you, and anyone who says different can shut up. I'm the humblest of them all. Shacky boy?
I'm Shek, the sweet one. The toxic one. Depends on which day you catch me on.
Bittersweet.
Yeah, and I guess...
Can you make a
that's
character
it,
called
right?
the Sweet One? That's a great name. And Senpai-C?
Hi, I'm Sarasi, and I'm obviously a lot sweeter than Shek, like no doubt.
Obviously.
And yeah, I'm the new junkie because I'm gonna be the negative one.
Oh, wow.
So, beware.
That's actually good. Then it's gonna be controversial. That's why everybody's here for, right?
And we have a new guest, Caprica, Capri-san. You call him whatever you want. Just don't call him late for solo ranked.
What an introduction.
Thank you. Do you want to tell some
I
people
am
about
actually-
yourself? Because people, I'm not sure if anyone knows who you are.
Yep, yeah, I'm a newcomer. I play sniper in solo and team ranked since like season 2 and 8v8 rank before that.
You miss 8v8 rank.
Me personally or Cap?
Oh, Caprica.
I hope that's a topic today, but
It is, yeah.
I think we have some good ideas around it. I think people are overly nostalgic about it in some cases as well.
I think they're extremely nostalgic about it in every
Yeah,
single
yeah.
fucking case. It always cracks me up because all the people I see on the forums talking about it, I know for a fact didn't fucking play it.
Yeah, level 50 8v8 rank was a lot of fun. 55, the maps kind of stopped working. People were alive for too long, so
Yeah.
I think we have some good ideas around it, which we'll get to.
I agree with all of that. But let's jump into the topics today, boys, because we got quite a lot to get through. So we'll start off with a nice, easy one. What are our thoughts? Oh, actually, the topic, first of all, is what is everyone drinking? So Shaq has got some wine. Kreia's got an Irish whiskey. Caprica has got some Capri-Sun. Cersei is drinking Wasser, I believe it is in German.
Correct.
Bilingual snave. And I've got some whiskey, which I'm going to drink, and hopefully slowly, because I got to be up until 6 o'clock in the morning.
Why 6 a.m.?
UFC, man. McGregor's fighting.
We didn't know that. I'm gonna watch it as well. Thank you, Snave.
You're more than welcome. So our thoughts on season 13. Let's open this up with Cersei, because he's on cam for the first time, and I want to see his eyes when he starts shit talking.
Okay, so I mean, for the start I enjoyed a lot, but I also got burned out of it faster than I usually do. Like, it's kind of actually my first season where I take like big breaks, like right now. But apart from that, I think it's a fun season for the most part.
Okay, Shaq?
Well, I played a lot at the beginning of the season, and then I took a big break for 3 months, I think. Shadowlands came out, and I went playing WoW a lot. Then I came back recently, I think it's a month now, or 5 weeks or so. I played on and off a bit in the meantime, and I enjoyed the season so far, I guess. I like it more than I did in the beginning. If that makes sense. I feel like the queue is different.
Okay, and Kreia?
Well, so I played from like the first week, and then I didn't play SWTOR for a couple months because like real life stuff. And so I came back. I guess I don't know if this is the middle or the end. I'm not sure. So most of my experience.
No one knows when it's going to
since-
end.
So yeah, who knows? So most of my experience has been from like middle December towards now, and it's been pretty bad. It's been pretty bad. But you know that's just because of the whole. I'm pretty sure I was on the bad end of a win trading session, so then I lost like 300 ratings. So this season's kind of sucked for me.
I see. So your enjoyment is intrinsically linked to your elo rating.
No, it was intrinsically linked to just not getting good matches. The matches were very lopsided. Like to give you an idea.
No, that's very
like
true.
yeah, so it wasn't even fun from like the gameplay perspective.
Okay, so Capri, what about you, buddy? Because you play on the NA and EU, don't you?
Yeah, and for solo ranked, I played a lot in the beginning and like mid-season, and then more focused on team rank recently. I think from a positive standpoint, participation has been above average, I would say, particularly in solo ranked. I definitely think there's issues with class balancing that we'll talk about, and the team rank reward structure as well has some problems that we'll also talk about.
Okay. So from my perspective, this season kind of started off quite badly because they did the incredibly wise decision of unbanning all of the people who were like throw in and trade in. So we had to deal with that and get them all banned and all that kind of shit all over again, which is a bit of a bamboozling decision from my point of view because it just means that every single start of every single season is going to be a shit show. Oh, bloody hell, glug a glug.
Sorry.
Sorry. And yeah, apart from that, you know, the kind of matchmaking and the lopsided games have made it more of a chore than anything else. I find that I cannot play more than kind of 30 minutes unless I'm getting drunk, which I guess is not a very good thing. But the last time we spoke was, I think it was back in September, and we covered the 3 topics that BioWare had laid out as things that they were actively working on. So the first one was toxicity, the second one was augment, and the third one was guard. We also covered the vote kick removal, which was a change, but it wasn't really a topic that they laid out. So now that these changes have been in the game for a few months, what are your thoughts on it? And we'll go across to Diablo here himself. What are your thoughts on toxicity in the game now, Shaq?
Well, so I don't know how much my opinion is gonna wait because like I took a couple of pretty long breaks, as I said, and since I came back, the differences in toxicity is quite insane. I feel like since they banned everyone, and there is like it doesn't feel like there is any shenanigans going on in solo ranked, at least from my personal experience so far, and people are just playing the games and instantly leaving. Like I don't see, you always have the occasional malt here and there, bit of trash talk left and right, but it's nothing too serious. Like definitely not. You couldn't compare it to the shit talk in the past.
Okay, what about you?
Like even a couple of months ago. Wait, what?
No, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, that's it. I thought you were gonna ask me something.
No, I thought you'd finished. I beg your pardon. I was going to get Craig's take on toxicity.
So there's a lot of toxicity on Starforge, but I think it's because it's kind of a small community and everybody kind of knows each other. So I think it's actually a mixture of people being legitimately toxic because of people like Holy Mind just kind of throwing at a whim, versus people kind of just trolling at each other, you know, because maybe they're friends.
Did you find it was
So I
strange how long it took for any action to be taken against Holy Mind? Because that shit was going on for like it
Well,
seemed
he's
pretty
still there.
blatant.
He's
still
still
there.
going strong, Dave.
Yeah, he's still there.
I thought he was banned.
He's not banned. No, that's what people were saying. But and then like literally, I streamed like either yesterday or 2 days ago, and he was right there. He's still there.
Is it the
So-
same account, or is it like did they make
The
another?
same account, same legacy name, same 500 elo character. He's still going, bro.
Wow. Okay, he's an inspiration to us all.
Yeah.
What about you, Cersei?
Well, it's kind of hard for me to talk about it, but because I'm mostly either seeing things on stream or by hearsay, and I barely played myself, right? So, and I also don't play on NA, but I think toxicity has hasn't really changed, but it has changed in the way that vote kick got removed. So that's one big factor of toxicity gone, not available anymore. But I mean, people still rage and flame, and like everybody has to work on that himself. Like,
well, that's very zen of you, Cersei.
yeah.
What about you, Capri-san? Because you've been on the two sides of the coast. You know, you've crossed the ocean. You've experienced toxicity from different continents.
Yeah, for me, I think it was a positive change to remove vote kick. I don't think it was an effective tool to moderate cheating or throwing. It was mostly used to bully players or to exclude newer players. So I thought that was a good change. In terms of the raging and the flaming, I mean, that's just part of the queue. But vote kick was pretty damaging, I think, for a time, with people just kicking people they didn't like.
Yeah,
so I do think that was
that.
a good change.
You still see people raging quite a lot, but it is just part of the game.
The thing that goes with that, though, is BioWare needs to step up its moderation, because they tried to let the players do it and it didn't work. But when you have someone like Holy Mind who's able to throw games for months, like hundreds of games, it really speaks to the fact that they're not moderating their game in between seasons. Like, I think they do a pretty good job at the end of the season, but if they're going to have these 6-month seasons, we need to have a little bit more in between.
Okay. So the other big change was the new augment. So quick question, does anyone have the new augments?
I don't even have a single one now.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have one.
No,
I think we all
could
sell
have
the
gotten
mats.
them if I wanted, but
Yeah,
I made money instead as well. So
yeah.
Yeah, I did the same. I just sold the mats basically and just became rich overnight.
Everyone decided they had to tank the economy into the shitter, causing mega inflation instead. Yeah, this augment thing I don't think was well thought out. Like,
It really wasn't.
It's a 2 to 3% performance increase. So for most players, just sell the mats.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like, I mean, it's not gonna grant you the kill when you couldn't have killed the target
well,
anyway.
it might do, Shaq. You never know. Made a 1%. You know what I mean?
I don't know, man.
You
The
fucking
thing
casual.
The thing
I
is,
don't know,
dude,
man.
like, those credits could be better spent. I've seen, if you just look at some of
Into
the players'
cosmetics, man. Looking
it could
sexy
be-
as fuck. Walking
could be
around
better
like
spent.
a corpse, bro.
They're ridiculous, dude. It could be better spent on amplifiers. You know, there's a lot of players who still don't even have any. They haven't even rolled amplifiers. That's gonna be a bigger deal than like a small stat pool increase on augments. You know.
Okay.
I mean, that's RNG. Like,
What, amplifiers?
people don't like spending their money on RNG, right? At least
Yeah, well,
I don't.
no, I'm saying so a full set of augments is gonna cost like well, when I calculated, it was like 7 billion credits versus a full set of amplifiers is like 100 mil if you're unlucky.
I tell you
So
what
I'm
you
saying
should
the
do,
money's
right?
better spent.
If you
on amp.
play Shadow, rather than getting any of the new augments, spend 150 million credits on that thing. What's it called? Garvox Revenge or some shit? Is the one on Dantooine that does the the credit emote. I can't think what it's
the
called.
Golden Dreamer.
It makes you look like you've popped the immunity.
Shroud,
Yeah. So just get that instead and just press that, and people will stop hitting you, and that'll actually be more effective than having the new
That's a
augments
good idea,
anyway.
dude.
And it's only 150 mil.
If you got a little bit more money, you can buy a Cratamatic and hide in a box in the arenas.
And if
They'll
you've
never
got some pocket change, you can buy the fake pass the hat ball to juke people into CCing people when you're playing hat ball.
All Galaxy Brain ideas.
Thanks, man. I've only ever done it successfully once, but it was against Cat, so I felt really big dick for quite a while after that. All right, so basically, toxicity, things that got better. Augments doesn't really matter, but it has fucked the economy. And the next one was guard. So the DPS guard changes was something that people have been asking for quite some time. And really, when we spoke last, if I recall the conversation, we were just happy they were doing literally anything. Well, some time has passed. So are we now still happy that they did literally anything? Or do we think they should do more? They should do less? What's the take on this? Shaq, I know you love off guard.
So I've been advocating for the guard removal on DPS for I don't know how long, like forever probably right now. And what I asked for from the beginning was to remove it completely. Obviously that would require some overwork of, like, let's say Jack DPS specifically. But then again, it would increase the quality of the game so much. Like, I didn't understand the idea behind leaving guard exactly the same and reducing the damage of the one who's guarding by half. Like, the issue we have is too much survivability, too many DCDs, too many mobility abilities, too much health pool. Like, it takes time to kill people on the top of guard. The issue wasn't on the top of guard being the same, increasing or decreasing the DPS from the one using guard by half.
I think
that
the
made no
idea
sense.
behind it was quite similar to the old stance change, where if you change stance, you would do less damage.
I think the insensitive was for DPSs to reconsider if they were using guard. But
Yeah.
like, guard is such a strong tool, and in solo ranked, it's really like specifically for DPS about keeping your companions alive. You're always going to guard if you can save someone. So you don't really care about the DPS
I
being
think
half.
for me,
So,
the big
I
problem.
would always save Vet, but I would never save Kai Zyken, right? Because you're talking about companions.
Oh,
Funny.
he's not a companion.
That's a hot
come on.
take.
The problem with the guard change though is it isn't a 50% decrease. It's a 50% on the bottom end. So all the multipliers and all that kind of jazz didn't actually make any difference whatsoever.
Well, I would disagree with that. It didn't make a difference so much on like power tech where they have insane damage anyway, like a ton of
Yeah.
multipliers. But it definitely hurt Sin DPS. But I mean, and for Juggernaut, it's not like it really matters because Jug damage isn't really relevant unless it's tank heals DPS, right? Because most of the time they're the first
I mean,
target
look,
anyway.
if you
so
can,
they're busy
if
just
you can get a
hiding.
good cleave going, you can do
What?
quite a lot. It's,
Yeah.
it's not.
Well, but
true,
I'm saying-
but the thing with Jug is you're staying alive until your next ED. That's basically the whole point of it.
Jug-
Yeah, pretty much.
Jug DPS is irrelevant, but Sin DPS is not? What?
Well, no, what I'm saying as far as like the 50% damage nerf, it hurt Sins more than it hurt like Power Techs or Juggernauts is what I'm saying.
Jug
Because
doesn't have a
Juggernauts,
multiplier either, do they?
because Jugs and Jugs most of the time are busy running anyway. Like most of the time they're like one of the first targets next
But
to
if they're
Power
running, they're
Techs.
not guarded.
That's how they
Yeah,
win.
that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's my point. I'm saying if they're not really guarding anyway, the damage nerf really doesn't matter. As opposed to Sin, those are like generally some of the last targets to die. So when they throw up guarded, the damage
Okay.
nerf hurts them the most. They have the most uptime. All guard is up. That's the best way of putting it.
I get the point. I don't think it's a big deal. But
Mhm.
yeah, you have played more. Also Sin for sure. That's. So
I mean,
I'm
at the end of the
trusting you
day, the nerf to guard damage does not outweigh the effectiveness of guard. Guard
pretty
is
much.
still
Yeah.
I think we can all
Way-
agree on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's still way stronger than it needs to be.
Yeah,
so.
that's that was a good way to put it.
I actually wanted to jump on something Shaq said because, like, I agree on that take that the main thing of guard is to keep somebody alive, and that's a lot more valuable than some
Mhm.
damage.
Exactly.
So, going by that, we can probably say that off guard is still strong, maybe too strong, so the nerf wasn't enough. But the other point Shaq mentioned was that whole like time to kill is too high, too many DCDs, too much HP. I read that a lot, but does actually everyone here think that way? Because
I think the
don't
mobility
actually
is.
think it's that's
I think
the
the
case.
mobility is too high, and I think
Yes.
things like
Yes.
off guard do. So off guard is basically like an artificial life extension, yeah. So I think systems like that make the TTK too high when it isn't. Like for DPS games, it's basically like spunk DPS and hope for the best. You know what I mean? Just to kind of debase it to its lowest level. And something like even if you've got a shitty Sin, let's say you've got the holy mind of sins, but you've got a good power tech, and the Sin just guards the power tech and doesn't do anything else. He just dies next to the power tech. He's going to extend his life by what, like 150k, which might be enough for him to get more back. 50% damage is being transferred across, isn't it? So actually, it's more than that. Someone who's smart can work it out for me, and it just makes a character which is meant to be a glass cannon into a shielded glass cannon that shoots cannons from a smaller cannon.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I
Can I
think
ask a
that's
question
the
though?
issue.
Like
But
when we talk about this issue though, I feel like this issue comes up a lot, but nobody ever I've never heard anyone exactly say what is a reasonable TTK. Like what are we aiming for in seconds or minutes or whatever for time to kill, and then what is it now compared to what we're aiming for? Because I feel like it's one of those things where people just kind of talk about it.
So the
but
problem
don't
you got with
actually specify
TTK,
it.
this is quite a good one for me to answer because operative is a great example of TTK, right? You can try and kill an operative. Like think of an operative stalling someone on the off node, like four or five people trying to kill them. they don't have great DCDs under any control whatsoever. And once they've used Breaker, you just kill them in 2 stuns pretty much 100% of the time with any coordination. Right? But if you don't do that, they'll live for fucking ever. But that's a crossover from the mobility and the kiting and all that kind of stuff. When you chuck in healthy doses of desync, people appearing on different platforms and just the inability to hit someone, you artificially increase the TTK. But in terms of just like passing damage to death, I think TTK is fine.
So we're talking about then TTK, like, so in terms of TTK, are we specifically talking about when a target is controlled, how fast they should or should not die?
Let me give an example. Mars drop really fast. If you can get them, without a juicy CD up, you can drop them down really fast. And then they vanish and they run to the other side of the map. And then you run across to get them, and then they vanish and they run to the other side of the map. And that goes on. You barely heal it for the entire thing. So that TTK is massive. But really, the amount of DPS required to kill that character isn't massive. You just have to cover the ground because of the stupidity of the fucking game.
I understand what you're saying.
Mercs would have more of what you would call a traditional TTK, where they've got reliable, stable DCDs that just function. Jugs would be another one as well, because really what you got to do with Jug, you got to kite around for like 30 seconds until you get your second ED up. I know that's easier said than done, but you know what I mean? That's fundamentally what you do, how you play the class. Sins, you drop a sin, they vanish out, they regen, they run back in. So the TTK is extended in that sense.
I think we got a definition problem here.
Okay.
Because you guys are right that I define TTK in regards to rank completely differently. It should be in terms of how many goes you need to kill the target. That's how I would define TTK. You got a breaker, you got the white bar. So technically you should be able to kill every class in 2 goes. You go in, you bait the breaker, the first white bar, first DCDs, then you reset, go in and kill. But what happens is that a lot of abilities are not, they design is built around giving you an insane damage reduction or a lot of heal, or either mechanics that make you disengage completely, like vanish resets on marauders, 2 cloaks on sins, things like that. Most goes are not clean in TOR. That might be because white bar is a thing, I don't know, but like, I don't know how you see it. That's how I would define TTK, how many goes you need to kill a target.
Yeah, but check, like, goes, the way you define goes is like full coordination and also very little counterplay. Like if you
also TTK literally stands for time to kill, so it already has a definition. It's the time taken to kill.
I mean, no, Serati is right. What I mean is, like, if technically you go on a target and he's alone and you go 4 men on him and you try to global him.
Yeah, he will die in one stun. On average. Always.
No.
Yes, of course. If you have 4 people all focusing one person with planned burst, every target is gonna die in
obviously
4 seconds.
Yeah, obviously, but it's not coordinated to that degree. Like most mercs, like I've seen a lot of mercs in the last couple of days who 4 people opened on and they didn't die. It took like 2 or 3 goes.
Because usually there is counterplay. Like
exactly, but that's okay. If other classes support, that's a different thing. I mean, the class on itself shouldn't be able to survive too long.
Okay, maybe we're losing ourselves here. But
it's just a different definition, So in terms of the definition, you can define it however you want. Fundamentally, is how long it takes for a player to die.
So, my take on it is, I guess, I generally like when there are a lot of DCDs available. For example, Merc. Like, I know people always said, Mercs have too much DCDs, too much healing, too much survivability, but it makes the class really interesting because you actually have to make decisions which DCD to pop. Like, imagine you didn't have Reflect and you didn't have Kolto. Yeah, shield,
Merc would be
right?
free kill.
So whenever you're target, you're gonna pop shield. There's no decision making. There's like, I have 1 DCD, so I pop it. But if you have multiple DCDs, you can, like, you have to make decisions. So your skill at making the right decision makes a difference in the outcome.
But won't you always use certain DCDs based on, like, isn't there just always a best way?
Yeah, we're getting back into the weeds on this one, which isn't, and this isn't even the topic we meant to be talking about. So
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's get back
right.
on track here a second, right? So we've gone through the guard changes. The long and the short of it is it's not enough. No one really likes them. They didn't really achieve what they set out to achieve. Think
Yeah.
that's fair? All right,
That's
cool.
fair.
I agree.
The other one we wanted to go over, I wanted to do this briefly, is vote kick removal. I'm yet to see any person who I think has a triple-digit IQ make an argument for why vote kick should be back in the game. Every single player I see advocating to get it back is just someone who wants to kick people out of games because they think they're unworthy to be in the game. Sometimes that's true with the holy minds of the world and that kind of stuff, but I haven't seen a legitimate argument to have it implemented.
I mean,
anyone
as
have one?
always, vote kick could be alright if it was working better than it did. Like, there is no way you should bring it back like we had it.
Well, you can have it as 20 minutes is the lockout now, and then that increases for each one that you leave. So it's very, very plausible that one person could be completely queue-locked within the first week by being continuously vote kicked. With the current system.
As most people know, I'm against vote kick for good reasons, but I could see a world where there is like, you have one thrower and all other 7 players in that arena click on the button, yes, this guy is a thrower, confirmed. And when all 7 agree, then this guy can get vote kicked.
But then how do you prove that?
I mean,
It's
there's
pretty
some-
rare that you
yeah,
have like 7
it's like
people.
Holy Mind. Like 7 people would totally agree to kick Holy Mind.
Yeah, exactly. Like people like that would get vote kicked. But problematic situations where just a bad player would get kicked. Like that wouldn't happen if you make like all other people agree on. Because I'm optimistic about people that they don't.
I don't
That
think
not
that would
everyone
ever-
kicks
ever
innocent
work.
people.
I think Cap put it the best way. He when he mentioned earlier that it was a good idea that vote kick got removed, I think we all agree. But that on the other hand, the flip side is that BioWare should monitor rank just better. Like things like Holy Mind shouldn't happen, and especially
I
not
wonder
for
what's
such
been
a
happening with
prolonged
that,
period
Sure.
of time.
Because like if you go back, 3 months or so, 4 months or so, they were really on the ball with this shit. Like when the season started and people were reporting, I mean, they're the same clowns who do it every fucking season. So like you report them for threatening to throw, all that kind of shit, and they were out of the queue within a couple of weeks. Whereas like you
I
got
agree
people now
that
for
BioWare did a
months.
much better job. Yeah, I agree. It's
Yeah,
an
that's true.
improvement. That's not what I'm saying. Like I'm definitely one of those who got to admit.
No, sorry.
that
What I'm
BioWare
saying is right now
actually tried.
it's gone back to the old way, where it's like Holy Mind's a perfect example. It's been literally months. There's been mass reports sent.
I mean,
video evidence,
I feel sorry for the people on SF because the quality of the queue suffers a lot because of people like that. But since the ban waves, we haven't had stuff like that happening on DM. At least not the last couple of weeks. I don't know how it has been
it
before
happened a fair
that.
bit. Like Glenn was saying, he didn't want to queue solo rank without vote kick, and that was the only reason he played solo rank was to abuse vote kick. And people like that do exist. You know what I mean? So
I mean,
Yeah, but that's
Glenn,
okay. Yeah,
Glenn is
that's
just a troll. Like,
yeah, pretty
whatever
much.
he
but
says,
I wouldn't
my
take.
don't
point-
take it for
Yeah,
granted.
I wouldn't
the
take blame
point
as
is
like-
he's not the only one doing it.
Oh, man.
That's all.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, Memerk is
yeah.
also just a troll.
yeah,
don't take
true.
anything he
And
says
Enoch
for
doesn't
granted.
play the game, so
Like these two are, yeah,
oh man,
not topic for here.
All right. Well,
yeah,
let's,
it's
let's,
not a good example.
let's just move on to the upcoming changes. What's coming? There's not really much. The Q lock, they have said, will now apply to all PvP. So that's regs, ranked, and GSF. So if you get Q locked in ranked for throw-in, you will be Q locked from regs and GSF. Do you think this makes any difference whatsoever?
I think it's a bad idea, to be honest. I think it's a bit harsh on the reg players.
Why would you get Q locked for regs?
Yeah,
No, this
I
is
don't
so
know.
basically the way it works now, Shaq, is like say you're a stain and you get kicked out of the queue and Q locked. Currently, he can still queue for GSF. He can still queue for regs. With the new
But yeah,
system, he wouldn't
yeah,
be
but-
able to.
yeah, I don't know if that's. I find that a bit like you can miss pops as well. Like I feel like if they do that change, then you should get the auto invite on a pop. But that maybe
I
that's
don't
bad
think you
for solo as
understand
well.
anything I've just
I
said.
don't know.
They're
So
not the same thing.
If you get Q locked, throw in games and win trade in.
Yeah, you're Q locked out of every PvP activity, right?
Yeah, this isn't for missing a pop.
which is a deserter lockout.
Yeah,
Deserter lockout and Q lock is different.
So the deserter lockout works that way now anyway. If you get a deserter lockout in regs, you can't queue for ranked and vice versa. The way that this works is if you are Q locked, as in you are suspended from playing ranked PvP, you also cannot play GSF or regs.
Oh, you mean like when you get Q locked as in banned, right? Banned
Yes.
off the queue, then
Yes.
you cannot participate in any
Yes.
PvP shape or form. Ah, that's a nice change.
Do anyone have any
mean,
thoughts on
that's-
this?
I think that's
I think
a
the
good one.
change is good. I think
Yeah, me
it's
too.
also an effective
That's
way. Oh, what? Sarasi, you were saying something?
No, you go ahead.
Okay, yeah, just
You
real
start
quick. I
first.
think it's a good moderation tool because I think rightfully BioWare is usually pretty hesitant to outright ban people. I think there's a lot of hurdles that they have to clear in order to do that. I think a Q lock they probably need less to go off of, and it prevents players from damaging the queue. As an added bonus, they can't queue regs and they can't queue GSF, so I think that's fine. But I like it as a tool to prevent players from destroying the queue while maybe they don't have quite enough to permanently ban them yet.
Any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea too. Like, it's a good solution for Bioware because they still collect your $15 because you're not if you have any type of if you have any type of rewards on it, you're not gonna just make a new account. You're still gonna play that account in PvE.
All right,
And at
boys.
the same time, PvPers don't get to deal with Holy Mind.
Strap in. We're about to cover some old ground here. I think this change doesn't really have any kind of efficacy to it. I don't think it really matters whatsoever. It's just a little bit spicier than the previous one. And I don't think anyone's going to go, oh shit, man, I better not win trade in ranked because I might be banned from GSF. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think that's how it's not like that though. I think it's more like a psychological thing. Like for example, if Holy Mind were to get Q locked, right?
Yeah.
Now he also can't even do regs. Generally speaking, okay, I'm not gonna assume the overlap, but I'm pretty sure most of the people that do ranked will probably also like the Q regs here and there when ranked isn't popping. And they probably don't do a ton of PvE stuff. That's just an assumption. I could be wrong. So to get banned from ranked and get banned from all other forms of PvP, I think that it would probably be a fair assumption that a lot of people who currently Q ranked probably only play SWTOR to PvP.
Okay.
Because otherwise.
So I'm going to disagree with this for
Mhm.
one simple thing is that I play regs, not a great deal anymore, but I still play it a fair bit. The only person that I've seen regularly rather than like very, very, very infrequently in regs who was Q locked is Lisbeth. That's the only person I've seen on a fairly regular basis. The rest of them, I don't think I've ever seen them, to be honest with you.
I mean, Lisbeth is just online constantly, right?
But you would think that the people who have been Q locked from ranked, you'd be more likely to see them in regs because it's all they can do. But you just don't see them; they just stop playing the game. So
yeah, that's true.
So to go over what we've said before, what I've said before anyway, the fundamental issue that I have with any kind of punishment like Q locks and that kind of stuff is it isn't enough of a deterrent because people are fairly blah. You read like the DMs from people on Discord and stuff because all of you guys are fucking. I say all you guys. That's a broad term. A fucking ratty PM screenshotters sharing them 24/7. But the thing is that even if that's just bravado, the only thing that I see working with good efficiency is wiping rewards. Just getting rid. If you've got a season 9 flare and you get caught win trading in season 33, then all of those flares should be deleted from your account. All of them.
Yes.
And any PvP
That's
mounts.
a bit hard, and I don't
Absolutely.
know.
Why?
Yes.
Why is it harsh? I don't. So basically,
I don't know.
if you
No, it's correct. It's
There's
how
a-
it should be.
there's a very easy solution to this, which is don't fucking cheat.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I've always
obviously.
said this. Like,
But,
prime
like, I
examples,
agree.
Stain and Kiritana, they will have their season 10 flares forever.
Yeah, that's a
Doesn't
shame.
matter, like, they can get, like, Stain is probably gonna get Q-locked every single season from now on, right?
Same thing with top
Yeah.
threes though.
He
as
got
well.
locked last
Pretty
season, he is locked this season.
Yeah.
He's probably gonna do the same next season and also getting locked. He will always have that, like, he has multiple top threes, actually.
Yeah.
He will always keep them.
And that's why I think you need to have it. People
Fair
are
enough.
so people are generally more afraid of losing something they have rather than not
Yes.
gaining something they haven't. Yes, loss aversion.
Yes.
So if you say we're going to reset your account. We're going to get rid of all your fucking ranked comms, any flays you've got, any mounts you've got, any armors you've got, they're all going to go. I think you would see a severe drop-off, or you'd see a lot of new accounts being made from these people so they could do it without jeopardizing their old account. But again, that's more money for them, so I don't see how that's a bad thing. I just don't think that this does really anything. It's slightly worse, but in terms of the efficiency, I don't think it really does much.
Yeah, like it's just a bit more harsh, I guess. Like especially like the GSF thing.
Okay.
Like you can see ranked regs and GSF each as like their niche thing, and some players play all of that. Some players only play one of those. And for the one of those players, it's pretty harsh. It's especially harsh because it's like an MMO.
For the one
it's not
player
like
in GSF.
Sorry?
For the one player in GSF, it's hard.
Yeah.
Lots.
No, I mean,
banned 50% of the queue.
In general, it's an MMO, right? And you're just picking a niche that you want to play.
Yeah.
And you cannot just, like in League or something, you get banned, create a new account and go in again. You cannot do that. So these full ban type things are pretty harsh in SWTOR in general. But obviously, or I think that's the way they're going to do it. They're going to be more careful with who they ban and who they don't. So when they put out that big queue lock from everything, they will make sure they only hit people that like really deserve it, like people that are problematic for the whole game. So maybe that's a good thing.
Okay, so on the upcoming changes, one thing I want to do here, I don't want to spend too much time on this one because the next category is probably going to cover most of this anyway. If you guys can give me your top 3, what changes do you feel are the highest priority at the moment and why? And let's start this off with Capri-san.
Team ranked reward structure,
Mm-hmm.
class balance, and mid-season enforcement / moderation.
What do you mean by that one? Sorry.
I think Bioware's pretty good, like end of season banning people.
Oh, right. Okay.
They haven't been as good during the season.
Okay. Check.
Well, I play solo ranked only, so for me it would be class balance definitely more frequently, class stacking, and matchmaking. But yeah, matchmaking, I don't know. The matchmaking might work with a high population, so that's another topic for another talk, I guess.
Kreia?
I would probably say season duration is like my number one big thing, because I think that kind of ties up a lot of other issues pretty neatly. Then class stacking, that's like number 2, and then class balance would be number 3.
Okay, and Cersei?
Damn, everybody hates class balance.
We all do, yeah.
So yeah, like the monitoring thing, like Bioware,
like bans basically.
Seeing win traders earlier, faster, banning them faster. That's probably number 1. Yeah, like I was hearing, or I was listening to you guys, and you mentioned some good stuff, but I wasn't able to pick priorities really. I think the second one is actually like mechanical bugs. Like I've seen reports by people since before Christmas that their Facebook doesn't go off.
Yeah. Or not only go off when you cleanse it and then get the animation bug. Like you move and then suddenly you're stuck as if you were ravaged or something.
Exactly.
Like Can I tell you a beautiful story, Cersei? Because this just happened to me about 45 minutes ago, right? It was fucking glorious. I was on, what's the one with the waterfalls? McCab, is it? Which is the
waterfalls is Rishi.
Rishi, sorry. Okay, beg your pardon.
Battle Ring. Which one do you mean?
It's got waterfalls on it.
Yeah, it's the Rishi.
That's Rishi.
Rishi, okay, beg your pardon. I was on Rishi. I went to holotraverse to a player on the opposite side of the little ramp thing. And as I pressed holotraverse, the Mara, who was next to the target that I was holo to in, like 20 odd meters away, pressed ore. The ore landed. Then my holotraverse reset me back to my original position. So
you were odd.
I was CC'd and
I hate that, bro.
Back in my original position, and he had force bound. I wanted to punch myself in the dick. It was so bad.
That
I mean,
shit
I-
happened
yeah.
to me with Phantom Stride as
Then
well.
in the same game,
Imagine punching yourself in the dick.
I dropped down to chase a Sork who was clearly on the floor, who then decided, nope, I'm not actually on the floor. I'm actually on top. No, wait, I'm on the floor. No, wait, I'm on top. No, I'm on the floor.
There's nothing worse than when you just see their character running, and they're like running underneath of like a bridge or underneath of a ramp, but they're not actually there. So you're just spamming an ability, but it's grayed out because they're not within range.
Yeah.
That's the most frustrating thing is melee, dude.
Yeah.
He was just
I
up
agree
and
with
down,
you.
up and down, up and down the
Yeah, I
entire
agree.
time. So I was like, great. The weird thing with that as well is I've actually hit people from that position.
That's crazy,
So
dude.
even though they're located on top, I've still hit them on the floor. So I don't know how the fuck this thing works, but yeah, it's brilliant, the thing.
Well,
But I mean, Chris did say
okay,
we're
so-
working on desync, so
Yeah, let's just not dream too much about them fixing desync.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be in the
What they can fix is grenade, carbonize. What else is there? Knockbacks,
Ravage,
going through
Ravage.
roll, through shroud.
Well, I had
Yeah,
that
that's
earlier as well.
right.
I had double
Face
knockback to
walk.
roll.
The Ravage animation rooting
Like-
you even though you
Yeah,
have
dude.
root breaker on force
This-
sprint. That's the
This
most
cannot
annoying bullshit.
this
man.
cannot be hard. Like this, like I get desync. Desync is hard. Okay, that's like they're gonna work on that until the game dies. I get that, but getting carved in roll is not hard to fix. Come on, please, Bioware.
I think the problem with carb through roll is a desync problem, though.
I don't think so. I think carb, grenade, and knockbacks are coded wrong.
If you look at the combat logs, usually it shows that the ability went off in the correct sequence in the combat logs, just not on the screen.
Well, not always. I've
Carbonize
done.
is still buggy,
like,
Snave. Like you
I
get
also
carbonized
said-
Mate,
in
you're
shroud.
fucking preaching to the
That's-
choir on this one,
that's
mate. I play operative, so I've got a fucking invested, stake in desync on roll. But we talked about this with Chris, probably was it last year, and we were doing examples, and we were doing duels, and all of the videos that I had anyway, where there was a clear I had the buff available on my combat log, it did not show it that way. Now, I at the time I kind of shit the bed and was like, "What do you want me to have my combat log next to my screen and just like fucking read it like the Matrix when I'm playing? I don't care if it's fucking right; it's still fucking wrong, But that's a desync issue. That's not an ability.
No.
issue.
Maybe it's a desync issue that
Or they
for
tie
some
together,
reason
maybe.
desync changes the way an ability goes off. But I can tell you, like pretty much 1 year ago, I was like just getting carved multiple times in a reg. Okay, and I looked at the combat log, and every single time the effect stunned was applied before checking for if the damage hit or not.
Maybe some of them are
Basically
bugged
checking.
as well. Yeah.
Sorry.
Maybe they are bugged as well. Yeah. I mean, I could be completely wrong on this one.
Yeah, like it's definitely the case. For some reason, it's not consistent. So sometimes it works, right?
Hmm.
And no, I don't know why, and Bioware apparently doesn't know either. But there's definitely something wrong with these abilities: Carb, Grenade, and Knockbacks.
Yeah.
Like especially in Merc Knockback. The other
Okay.
one, like Sork Knockback sometimes too.
So we've done our top 3 of things that we'd like to have changed. The summary is team rank rewards, class balance, bans, both mid-season and duration, matchmaking, stacking, season duration, and bugs. I'm not sure they can do much about the bugs. Lyala is
Hoping
saying
so.
that he can clearly see how to fix it. Why don't you apply for a job with him, mate? Maybe you can unban yourself then as well.
Oh, Lyala tried.
Can you imagine?
I
Probably.
mean, the fact that Sarasi showed that screenshot too, where they said, "Oh, we know what this is," like a year ago, it's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
there.
Yeah,
a year
it
later.
literally
Well, I
says
think
2019.
The
It's so
best
sad.
example of this is Mando and Mercnet.
Ugh.
Like, that's the best example. 'Cause
Yeah.
it was in the game for literally years, and they were reported
It-
continuously. So
Nobody expected it to ever get fixed, but
No.
somehow it got.
yeah,
Like-
it did. I think that was Chris as well, wasn't it? Didn't we like shit the bed with him and he fixed it, or he got it fixed
was
as a
for-
priority?
I don't
I was
know the
one that-
timing of it, so
Every single time it happened to me, I sent a report. Every single time that net
It was
went
worth
through
it in the
Shroud,
end, I
I
guess.
reported immediately, dude.
Mate, if I did that, I would literally spend more time filing reports than I would
And
playing the
actually
game.
playing.
Especially,
that
like,
was me. That was me.
before there was cross faction, wasn't that
Mhm.
much of an issue because there were not that many commandos, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
then
but it was also
I
even more of a
wasn't-
problem because if you
I
faced off
wasn't-
against a team, it was rep side. They were all commandos.
Yeah, exactly. I was in German server, and German server season 8, season 9 was like rep dominated, so everyone played rep side. It was also season 8 where Commando was completely broken. Yeah, you can imagine how the queue looked, and I was like on my little scoundrel, getting netted through every fucking role. Yeah.
So let's move
That's
on to
how
the
I
next
got
point
into
then,
solo
boys.
rank, by the way.
And this is going to be the juiciest one of the evening, I feel. So Shaq, if you got your bottle of wine, now is the time to pop it open, my friend.
There we go. Let's go.
You might need it to survive this one. I put this under the category of issues. It could be topics, it could be anything. Don't take the word issues as a negative. It's just a list of things I thought that we could talk about as just interesting topics to go over. Things that I think might add to the overall collective. So the first one I wanted to talk about, and this is a juicy topic. Sorry for my my Swedish friends, juicy topic. It's matchmaking, which currently I consider one of the. If I was to do a top 3, I think matchmaking would be one of the biggest ones for me, because there's so many issues with the matchmaking in the game. I don't actually understand what they're trying to do, other than physically get bodies into the queue.
I think that's exactly what it is, right? Snake?
Yeah, I understand that they've said. I mean, they've said this before, that they only really the only metric they really follow is participation, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. But especially when there's incentives to play, you know, because people will fucking grind shit. Like, I killed ogres in the Grand until I almost went insane, so I could get consortium rep in TBC. It was like literally 24/7 grinding.
Mate, can you be less boomer and explain this for like young people?
The Zoomers.
So basically, the long and the short of it was I killed the same mobs repetitively for a long time, so my participation was really high. My enjoyment was 0, and I hated it. So, you know, I was honestly going crazy. I killed so many ogres. I was dreaming of ogres.
Still did it. Achievements are magic.
I had to get the item because I was trying to get into a raiding guild. So having the dagger from the consortium was a real big thing back then. But anyway. It's not it's part of what you should use, but it's not the whole thing that you should use. And things with matchmaking in this game is when you listen to how they speak about it, like I know Chris said it was something which made me go, what? You don't want like high elo mirrored matches because then it's a coin toss. I didn't make any sense to me, the whole coin flip analogy, because it isn't. I mean, that's just stupid. It's like, if Juventus plays fucking Man U, they don't just get on the pitch and flip coins and then say, all right, someone won. They play the fucking game, and those are equally tiered teams, so to speak.
Yeah, that comment was kind of misplaced.
Well, yeah, it's worrying because he's the guy making the fucking decisions on that one. So that's why I was like, so there's like, in terms of matchmaking, that's your class stacking, that's your roles versus elo, that's your backfills. I mean, matchmaking is a big topic. So where do we start with this one? Treya looks like he's got something to say.
I was just gonna say, I understand what he meant by that, and I'm pretty sure that what he meant was, in theory, people don't want like a 50-50. Like, people don't want evenly skilled match. That's what he, you know. Okay, let me word this properly. I think that what he meant by that was that in theory, he thinks that people don't want a 50-50 match. People want more of like a 55-45 or like a 60-40. To put it in like Hearthstone terms, nobody wants to play a 50-50 deck. You want to play a match where you have a slight edge. So he's saying that people feel better when they win. That's basically what it boils down to. He's trying to say that their matchmaking is based on, they're pretty sure that people just want to win, and that, you know, maybe that's what they're trying to distill, or he was trying to distill other people's arguments.
Let me tell you why
I don't necessarily think
let me finish. So I think what he meant, all I'm saying is, I think that what he was trying to say was, people want to win, people don't actually want 50-50s. In my opinion, that's misguided. It's kind of one of those J. Allen Brack, you think you want it but you don't type of comments. That's what, you know, to me, because I think that people do want competitive matches, but maybe he has metrics or whatever that shows him otherwise, but I just disagree. But I think that's what he was trying to say.
So I don't think that's what he was trying to say, and I think you're giving too much extended credit on that one. I don't think it's a correct thing to say for a couple of reasons. So the logic behind that point is people want to win, in which case 50-50 is the fairest way, and you should have the most splits of wins and losses. 60-40 or 40-60 does not make it more fun, does not make it better. It just means sometimes you win more, sometimes you lose more. You get more highs and you get more lows. 50-50 should be a great outcome because half the time you're winning, half the time you're sad. Also, the way that it works right now is 50-50, but it's 50-50 for a different reason. A lot of the time, not every single game, just a lot of them, which is who gets the guy who gets the holy mind. That's the 50-50 you've got at the moment. You're going to tell me that's fucking, you're going to tell me that's better?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, like I said, I don't
different thing now.
disagree.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. It's not a completely different thing. You're comparing what matchmaking potentially could be to what it is now. They are arguing that people don't want high-tiered matches. I disagree with that.
What do you think, Caprica?
I think how matchmaking works right now is very simple, probably too simple. And it basically tries to have both teams have around the same average rating. So what happens when you get really high rated, like 1700, 1800 plus and solar rated, you will get, if there's someone who's 800 rated, they're on your team every time. It's not a 50-50 chance, they'll be on your team every time. So basically those games can become completely non-competitive.
See, I thought that was the case, but that's not how I've had it play out.
That's not how you've had it play out.
No,
that's
not
how
that I'm, even when there's high-rated people on my team, it doesn't seem to work that way.
I can tell you that was definitely my experience getting closer to UK. That was every game if there was someone that low, he was on my team.
Because they did change it, they changed it, 3 seasons ago?
They changed it after season 9.
Yeah,
coming into season 10.
I don't know when, if you were 2K rated, I don't think that's super recent, is it?
Well, no, I think he's talking just generally. But like, that was definitely my experience as well, like with the whole...
It was that way before. I agree with you. It was
still that way.
Okay.
It's still that way. Because I'm telling you, literally 2 weeks ago, when this whole thing happened with the whole... Sorry, can you guys hear me? Sorry, when the whole thing happened, dude, literally 2 weeks ago, I got the same healer on my team versus another healer that you guys know what I'm talking about 100% of the time, and I lost 300 elo.
Can we like not mess this up?
Go ahead.
Like, because you mentioned healers, and once there are healers or tanks involved, it's completely different.
It goes to shit, yeah. So I had this conversation with Junkie about it, and what we did was in the games, because he was saying the yellow doesn't work. What we did in the games was we'd look up every single player, look at what the ELO was on the scoreboards, and then do a comparison of both teams. And in most games, the ELO swing between both teams was relatively small, like under 100 points, overall between the lot of them. The difference between it is, if you've got a person who is like 600, there's 600 in this, and then there's 600. You know what I mean? Like me playing my jug when I'm drunk, I'm 600 rated. When I'm sober, I'm actually bronze, which is 1250. So fucking legit as fuck. The swings you get are far more swingy than if you were in kind of like brackets based around your own elo. Like if there was a 13 to 1400 bracket and you just got players of a similar amount, the games would be a lot tighter than if you got an 800 and an 1800 on both teams. Because it's going to come down to who can kill the 800 better or which 800 is better. More so than the 1800. Well, that's how I've seen every single game play out with it anyway. I don't see the good players carrying them. Some of them are just, well, most of them just don't even bother, to be honest with you, but that's my experience.
I'm going to try to sum things up a bit and give my take, I guess. So, first of all, the highest priority in terms of like matchmaking or the whole ranked system should of course be to have maximum participation possible, right? So allow DPS, allow tanks, allow healers. Okay, so
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think if I do agree with that, it's with caveats.
Okay, yeah, okay, we can discuss this later, but the first priority should always be participation, because if we don't have participation, rank dies, right? And then we don't have any matchmaking anyway. So the second thing is, of course, I think balanced matches in a way, if possible, put as many close, like people with similar elo in one match, right? So if you have 8 players with 1400 exactly, put those 8 in one match, and it will be super balanced. So ideally. And the next thing, and I think that's a hot topic and should be changed, is then if you have that pot of players, then go by class, and go more by class than by elo maybe, because as you said, like you can have a 1700 PT and a 1200 PT. When they are together in the healer game, like that's almost unbeatable. So even if the enemy team has, I don't know, 1600 players, swap the PT with 1200 against a 1600 player to have a better class balance, even though there is higher elo disparity then.
Okay, well, there's
But I
another way of
think it's
doing
still
that.
better.
So this is something well, I talked about before. I've talked about on stream quite a few times with the matchmaking, because when I did it with Junkie, and again, this was across, like I didn't do a sample size of 1,000 or whatever, but it was enough to kind of prove point of concept.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a difficult thing in terms of theory. It might be a difficult thing in terms of like pressing code into a computer to make it work that way. But
Yes.
once you assign the teams, if you see that, so if you assume they matched versus similar elo, so you've got 800, 800, 1,000, 1,000, 1,200, 1,200, 1,400, 1,400, something like that, yeah? If there's 3 Maras on one team, you swap the whatever rated Mara with the whatever rated is the mirror on the opposite side. So you just have a final sweep that says, you know, are there more of 2 class? Are there more than 2 class available in this game? If so, separate them across as best as possible. Because you see it now, you get 4 Oppas versus 4 Maras. There's literally no reason. If that's balanced in any way, shape, or form, then you should be able to swap 2 of those.
So even though you create an, in theory, unfair match willingly, it should be better if classes are kind of separated, because, you know, a class might have a higher, like, what kind of class you are has a higher factor in many games than the actual skill of the player.
I think that's almost
not always, but I
isn't
think
it?
that's
like how,
no,
how would you
that's
factor
true.
that in? You'd have to like weight each class.
No, it's mechanical. He like Serasi's right. The class.
I'm not saying he's wrong.
Easy to say, because
I'm just saying the
you know,
algorithm for that is a lot more complicated than it.
Oh yeah, I don't know how
glance.
to implement
yeah,
that.
that's for sure.
That's another
Like
story.
It's, sometimes, you know, it's not easy to say. If you have like a very good PT and a terrible PT, and then you have a very good Sorg on the other team, and he's target. Like that PT might actually be so terrible that the Sorg can still beat double PT.
The stuff
maybe it's unlikely, but it might actually happen, right?
The stuff you're asking for is, I would say, borderline impossible to do.
Yeah, I know, because if you then swap the bad PT against another player on the Sorg's team, that Sorg might lose anyway, because he has that terrible PT on his team.
I think this is like a no-way conversation. You know what I mean? You're talking about like perfect balance where you've got weighted based on class and the player behind it. I don't know how you do that.
Okay, I don't want this to happen or perfectly work. I'm just saying that I think it's not super easy to say, okay, if you separate classes, it will always create a more balanced match than before. But I think it's a good direction to go to value the class higher than.
I don't know, man. I think there's a very easy way. Well, I say easy. There's a very theoretical easy way of avoiding class stacking, which is where you just do that final sweep, where you have 3 on 1 and then swap them over. The way you say it is the way that you say it is objectively better. It's just also objectively way fucking more complicated and way harder to do.
I guess I just skipped the part where I say that after you have your 8 players and you swap classes, you effectively make matchmaking worse, because you willingly put players on the wrong team, so to speak.
But not if you do it by elo.
Class-wise, it's the right team.
No. Okay, so let me try doing this again. You got 4 mercs and you got 4 PTs.
Yep.
So on the current system, they are very good. They're going to be quite closely linked to elo. You'll have like bad, medium plus good on both teams. What I'm saying is you take whichever ones you want, do it fucking randomly. It doesn't matter. Actually, randomly is probably the only fair way of doing it. And then you swap it so it's 2 and 2.
Yep.
That's an easy fix.
Yeah,
theoretically.
Yeah, you're saying just disregard elo.
No, I'm not. I'm saying the opposite.
So you're. But I mean, what happens though if the way that those players' elos work out is in such a way that when you do it randomly,
no, you don't.
Fairly.
So you're swapping them with their mirror on the opposite side. Okay, so you've got 4 operatives, and we'll just do it in increments of 100 because it's easier. 1,000, 1 1, 1 2, 1 3, 1 4. Then you got 4 Maras, 1,000, 1 1, 1 2, 1 3, 1 4. You take what you do it randomly, so you'll say, okay, I'll do the 1-3 Oppa, and I'll swap him with the 1-3 Mara. We'll take the 1-2, and we'll swap that with the 1-2. So that you swap based on elo, but you separate based on class.
Yeah, that's the dream scenario, but that's obviously not always going to work.
I don't think that's going to be that. Sure, there'll always be advantages and disadvantages based on class, but that's better than having 4 Maras versus 4 fucking whatevers, you know?
Yeah, but well, that's kind of what I was trying to touch on. That it's
I think your one is better. Honestly,
better.
I just think it's very hard to have a dynamic matchmaking system which takes literally everything. Like you got to take the current meta into consideration.
Okay, example. You have.
I'm gonna strap in for this one.
You have Kreia on Sin and Alum on
We already
Operative.
lost. We lost already.
We're gonna pretend that Kreia is a great Sin in this example, okay?
All right, this is good. There
So
we go.
Kreia and Alum on Sin and Operative. And we also have Lisbeth on DPS, and we have Nirmis on Sin, okay? Sarasi is typing. Yeah, exactly, Toxie.
More like Toxie.
Let's say by old matchmaking, you had like Kreia and Nirmis in the same team, one high-rated, one low-rated Sin, and on the other team you have Alum and Lisbeth, one high-rated, one low-rated Operative. So we want to solve that problem now, right? Because on the one team we have 2 Sins, and the other team has 2 Operatives.
So you swap Kreia or Lisbeth, yeah.
Yeah, and then you give Kreia to Alum's team and Nirmis to the other team.
No, that's the literal opposite of what I'm saying.
No, and that's
You said
fucking
the
horrible.
low-rated-
You balanced by classes, but you didn't look at the elo.
All right,
Then you have a terrible match.
That's not what anyone has fucking said, though. What I'm saying
What did you say then?
in the example that I'm giving, what would happen is you would swap Kreia with Alim or Lisbeth with Nirmis.
Yes.
But that doesn't change anything.
Yes,
No, that's how it should be.
You have Kreia
Yes.
and Lisbeth, and then you have Alim and Nirmis.
But now code that, Snave.
Well, I can't.
I don't think that's easy.
So what it's literally the first thing I fucking said.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think this is a hard thing conceptually. It might be a hard thing to code into a computer.
Yes. Or it's
Okay,
probably
run
especially hard
It's
because
fucking easier than doing which class is overperforming right now, who can press buttons better, what's the meta makeup of the class afterwards. Like, fuck me. I don't even know how you begin to do that.
Class stacking definitely hurts competitive games. I think we can definitely agree on that. I will
It's
say
just
though,
boring as well.
these matchmaking changes that they made around, what was it, season 9, season 10? I can tell you this season, as I got higher rated, my win rate decreased. And that's because as matchmaking is supposed to work, you get the lower rated players on your team.
Yeah, but have you
So
tried getting better?
fundamentally, what's that?
Just get good, man. Jesus Christ.
Well, I still won some of those games. I just the win rate
manipulate
decreased.
more, dude.
I'm just
press
saying,
buttons
it
good,
is-
man. Jesus Christ.
It is working. It is working. It's
Yeah.
just not working, I think, as well as we want it to. And it only takes into account, it's very simple. Obviously, roles in terms of if someone has 4 DPS, they want the other team to have 4 DPS, unless it's a backfill, in which case you can get anything. After that, it wants the average elo of both teams to be the same. If they are, it's plus 10 or minus 10 for a loss. If it's skewed, then that's when you start to get different, like plus 16 for a win, minus 8 if the teams are different. That's pure elo matchmaking. What we're talking about, I think, is adding in some nuance of trying to avoid class stacking, because it exasperates all the balance issues that are here. How you actually do that, I'm not an expert on it, but I think it's something that they need to factor in to the matchmaking.
Look at Capricorn
Caprica,
pretending
can you just talk more? Like,
Yeah, you need to sum it up more, man.
I think that's correct, but look at you being all reasonable and shit. Theresy, you've been replaced by an American. How does that make you feel?
oh, it's great. Like, less pressure on me.
True.
I think if Snape summarized what I said, he'd just say get good.
No, I was just joking with that. I
mean-
I know how difficult it is to play sniper currently. Well, I don't, because I don't
Get
play
good is
sniper.
the answer to everything, actually.
But you did
Pick W.
touch on something that I wanted to bring up, which is the roles versus elo, which is currently, I think, the bane of my fucking life. I hate this shit. Where you have the elo spread, and it's like 3 DPS heal or 3 DPS tank, and you get the Holy Mind heal. The other person gets, whatever Capri-Sun's healer equivalency is. And it's just like, it's almost unwinnable because. I'll give you some
It is
feedback
unwinnable.
I've had.
Unwinnable.
I'll give you some examples I've had this week where I've had games like that. their healer has literally 2-to-1 out-healed our healer. So it's like 6k versus 12k, or 8k versus 16k was another one. And in order for us to compensate for that, we all have to do 2k more DPS than the other team. Every single player on the one team has to do 2k more than the other team, which it's stupid. I mean, the roles should be balanced by elo, and if that means healer's got to wait an hour for a pop, then fuck, stop playing a healer. Like, I'm at the point now where this has been a problem for so fucking long. Just delete healers and tanks from the queue. Solo ranked, this is a double-pronged assault here, right? Solo ranked is all DPS, team ranked if you want to play tanks and heals. It forces them to play team ranked, which gets those numbers up, and it just means they can avoid this nonsense with fucking heals and tanks in solo ranked fucking up the queue.
I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just trying to say that I'm definitely one of those people that have complained the most about tanks throughout the years. Like, tanks, dude. Oh, like,
Yeah,
there's almost not a single fun game in solo rank that involves tanks. And I think most tank players also don't even enjoy a tank DPS game. Like, they just play tank because they feel like it's easier to climb, maybe.
Well,
it's just boring, man. It's just unbelievably boring.
It's easier to coordinate with your friends, I think, is the reason people play tanks.
I mean, tanks and healers, okay.
Healer games are fun. Like, exclude me from the healer part. Like, I love healer games. Exclude me from that part. I love heal DPSs, in my opinion. If God wasn't a thing on DPS, it would be by far the most fun game.
If you queued up, right, and you get, Holy Mind as you a healer all night, and you're against, I don't know who's a good healer, Cersei. Are those games fun, where you just look at it and you think to yourself, fuck me, I gotta put out... Our team is going to put out exponential amounts of DPS. Objectively
speaking, if I get Lisbeth on DPS and a good healer, it's most likely loss, even though you could argue I could carry more with a good healer than with a bad one. So that might be a fair counterpoint.
I think
what you're talking about is that the skill discrepancy is just too big. Like, I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that healers or that the role is in queue. The same happens with tanks. Like, I hate tanks more for other reasons.
I said both.
I disagree. I disagree.
Mechanically as well, but like skill, the issue with roles is that skill is just a huge factor most of the time.
Yeah, like when you get a tank that just doesn't guard it versus
that's just
guards.
Yeah.
Like, how do you make up for that discrepancy with any amount of DPS?
I don't understand how you're all arguing against my point, yet everything you say is literally strengthening my point.
I'm not arguing against your point.
No, we are not arguing. I agree with you. I'm pretty sure. Like, we are all agreeing. Yeah, it's just like, I like personally healer games a lot. That's just me. Like, I hate tank games. I want them removed. I enjoy the healer role.
What about you, Capri? What do you think? Because you're the voice of reason here.
Yep.
This is sort of a preference thing, right? So I don't know if we should ban all healers and tanks from the queue. What I will say is, for me personally, 4 DPS are the most fun. Yeah. Because they test a player's skill in surviving and kiting and coordinating in a way that healer tank games usually don't. Plus, healer tank games are usually messed because, to your point, tank doesn't guard, the Sin tank who's in a PvE tactical, that kind of stuff. For me, anything with a healer and a tank in solo ranked is just a worse version of team ranked. I would much rather just go play team ranked and do that. However, how are you going to get...
Just stop there. Thank you, Capri-san, for agreeing with me. Endorsed.
I agree that I don't think we should ban them. Like, I don't think we should just make it only DPS. As much as, for me personally, I would love that. But I think the negative is you would harm the pipeline of people who could potentially go on and play team ranked.
That is very true.
Yeah.
So, okay. I definitely agree for sure. From my perspective, though, and this might be like a hot take, but I kind of feel like so I know that Chris kind of made a comment, it was a while ago, basically about how, kind of what Caprica was talking about, how you're expected as a higher rated player to carry lower rated players. Yeah. I think that once you start adding the roles into queue, it really skews that elo. It skews how elo works, because at that point, it doesn't matter if you're the highest rated DPS, you cannot carry a low rated healer. Like, the role at that point matters more than the actual elo. Yeah. So I think that, so Chris was like, he was close, right? And that higher rated players should carry the lower rated players. But once you start adding anything, I think that comment only applies ever to 4 DPS. Because once you start adding like like in my perspective, like in my example, for example, 2 weeks ago when I lost 300 elo because I got a healer that did 3k HPS and tank heals DPS versus a healer that did 21k HPS. You will never carry that. It doesn't matter if I'm like a 4k rated Sin
not with
and my
that
other
attitude, you
DPS is a
won't.
10k
you
rated
can't.
Sin.
You just can't. Yeah.
That's my point. Like at that point, the role is more important than the elo. And so Chris was close, but I just don't think that he was looking at how effective or how much a role affects the outcome of a game more so than the elo of DPS once you start adding tanks or healers.
Okay, so let's talk. Go on, sorry, sir. Go on, Sarah. You've been waiting
Yeah,
patiently.
I haven't really said something about that topic. Yeah, no, but so I want to agree, but I also want to disagree. Like, I agree on the part that 4 DPS games are usually like the most balanced, the most competitive, the most fun. You know, these type of games that go into like close 2v2s, 3v3s, like we all enjoy that. But I also really enjoy like healer and 3 DPS games.
Me too.
Because I actually think that these type of games test your skill the most, because you have that watching out for your and the enemy healer in terms of if your target, you need to see when your healer is CC'd, where he's going, like where he's moving, or the other way around. Like you as a healer, you have to keep up with your DPS. You have to decide when to break, when not to break, and all. Like, I think that's a good skill set to have in the game and to not remove it, right?
At the same time, though, would you not agree though that once you start adding any role other than 4 DPS, that it's less about how high elo your DPS is and more about the effectiveness of the player playing either healer or tank?
So that's the second part about what I wanted to say, and it's like it actually changed with 6.0 in my opinion. Like in 5.x you had healers carrying because they were better healers, right? Since 6.0 you still have that when there is like a huge gap, yes, but I've seen it multiple times where just the best DPS players or the best DPS setup specifically just completely obliterates any healer gap or healer outplay that would be there.
There's always going to be margins to it. I mean, I think just to kind of like pivot the conversation slightly, let's try and spunk out a solution of some description rather than anything else. Also, it's been bugging me since the start who Cersei reminds me of, and I think Cersei is like the younger brother of Night Train.
The younger brother of Night Train. What? He's old. Aren't you older? You're older than Night Train.
He is older, but you know the Virgin versus Chad meme? It's like the Virgin Cersei versus the Chad Night Train. You have similar frames and head.
You know what's really funny? You were the one saying Cersei was a 56-year-old boomer all the time.
I take it
now
back.
you're calling him the younger brother.
He's very mature for his age. But yeah, just to focus on solutions for a second. I mean, so the one that I've thought about for this one is when they do the matchmaking, obviously elo's a factor. Yeah, we all accept that. We all know that's the way that it works. If they did it so that they prioritized the healer and the tank elo to be mirrored with the healer and the tank, that would fix that to a way. But then the problem is, if you don't have similar rated people in the queue, you will never get a pop, which was the previous problem that they had. So I don't really see how it's fixable through that metric, unless they weight tanks and healers again higher than they do DPS. If you follow me with that one.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea because the reason, and I honestly think this is more of an issue on Starforge, where you have a lot of healers who are truly like 800 to 1000 elo, like that's truly their elo. And you get games where matchmaking thinks it's fair because the average elo is somewhat similar, but the difference between that 1k healer and the gold or the silver healer is such a gigantic gap that it's really difficult to overcome. So to your point, if you weighted that more, the healer difference, it could lead to more balanced games. I'm not sure if they're able to do that, but it could.
It would just lead to longer queues for tanks and heals. That's the main issue. It would definitely lead to longer ones because you'd have to have a similar eloed healer in the queue.
Yeah,
I guess I'm saying a little bit differently. So like if you had a super low rated healer and a super high rated healer, you could still get a game with them, but it wouldn't put it would do the teams a little bit differently, so that it takes into account the skill gap between the healers.
Yeah.
A little
So
bit more.
what you would do is
But
currently you have like a 1-to-1 ratio. Yeah. So it's like 1800 is 1800, 1600 is 1600.
That's exactly how it works.
You would change it so that with healers, it's like 1.2 rather than 1-to-1. So they're like overweighted versus other classes, or the lower one would be underrated. I beg your pardon. Be like minus 1.2. So if you had a 1k rated healer, his effective elo for matchmaking would be like 800. So you'd get better DPS to balance that out. You follow me?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that creates like an inverse situation though, where kind of, well, I understand what you're saying. I just think that creates a different type of problem.
It creates a different problem, but is that problem better than the current problem?
Nobody knows.
Yeah, who's to say?
Nobody knows. Yeah. So we've gone over class stacking, roles for Zelo, and the next one is backfills. I've got a fairly firm stance on this. They just shouldn't exist.
I agree. If
Yeah.
if it can't pop with 8 DPS, then I would rather just never pop. Period. If
And
it
it
can't
just
pop
being
with,
a 3v4 then, and yeah, I guess
Yeah.
so, and then just stuck and move on. I guess, yeah.
So-
why
well,
not?
not even that, because not even that. Just don't.
No, it's
Like,
not
just
stuck,
surrender the
Shaq. It
game.
just restarts. So
Yeah, just in the game with nobody getting any type of.
Oh,
if
you
it-
mean before it pops, the system should just automatically just not.
Well, it just
get
shouldn't
popped.
put a tank or heal
Yeah.
in the queue. Like if
Yeah.
I queue up for, so let me
Yeah,
give an
yeah, yeah.
example, right? If I queue up for an operation as a healer and a DPS leaves, I don't get backfilled into that operation no matter how long I've been in the queue for. But in PvP, you do.
Yeah.
And that I just seems
I
silly
think
to
that's
me.
not intended though. Do you think, guys,
Well,
that that
no,
would
it
I think
is. Yeah, Chris is.
it's very
he's-
straightforward.
that
So-
support
he's-
role backfills for
he's-
DPS and
Yeah,
for
he's
DPS
specifically
game?
spoken about it. Yeah, he said after a certain amount of time, it opens up to everyone.
That's
Yeah.
pretty.
So,
I
yeah.
just want to
Pretty
get a
quick, though.
body in there.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
it's
so
supposed to be
pretty-
fixed now, I think.
That's pretty
So-
dumb though.
concrete, Snave, the way you want it to work is that when 8 players get a pop,
Yeah.
no matter what roles, everyone presses accept at some point, and you want the game to only open after all 8 accepted, right?
No. So using the same example, 8 people get a pop. 7 people take the pop. The game populates automatically. The healer should not replace a DPS. A tank
for
should
sure.
not replace a DPS. It just shouldn't be programmed that way.
Well,
That's literally it.
Okay. So I was actually thinking of a more radical version.
Oh,
Uh,
come on, radical.
Like you're talking about the backfills that shouldn't happen anyway, like cross-roll backfills. Those are theoretically fixed, or should at least not happen that often anymore. But I was thinking like maybe you want one step more, where you like never have any backfill, because backfills also mess with matchmaking every time.
Well, you should do it. Maybe you should do like a final sweep in the last. So you get a pop. You got a countdown before the game begins. Yeah. When the last person joins the queue, there should be a grace period of a couple of seconds. Maybe swap the people around if it fucks up the elo. I think that's probably a step too far. I mean, it's a solution. I don't necessarily think it. So you have like a lobby, and you have like everyone in the lobby, and then it separates them finally before it begins. You get a 30-second countdown.
Yeah,
But
I could see that.
But that's program heavy. Do you know what I mean? You gotta like,
Yeah, I
redo
know.
redo the
It's
system,
not gonna happen. Yeah.
I don't want to be kind of like backseat deving too hard on this one. It's just there's a lot of things. So what? Okay, just to go on to the next thing that I wanted to talk about as well, because I mean I think backfills is a pretty open shut case. You just don't allow tanks and healers into DPS games, and vice versa. If a healer leaves, you don't replace them with a DPS. You just have those roles set. If the timer comes to an end and there's a player missing, then you just go back into the queue as the priority and off you go. Before anyone says that would make things longer and people would like manipulate it, you get locked out 20 minutes per decline.
Yeah.
That increases each time. It'll just lock them out of the queue for fucking ever if they carry on declining.
I remember having this exact conversation on a previous podcast, and that was before they added the deserter lockout. So now that we have deserter lockout, I feel like this would work much better, right? Because now people who are actively declining so that other people can get backfilled would be locked out of the queue, as opposed to back in the day it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that revisiting that idea would work 100% now that we actually have queue lockouts that increase in duration, So
And the last bit that I wanted to speak about on this one is, I put it down as ELO matchmaking, but what I mean by this is, in pretty much every other video game that I've played, the matchmaking is done based on like a bracket system, and it's fairly close to that bracket system. So I mean, Craig, you're a Hearthstone boy, and Sarah C is as well. Do you play Hearthstone, Capri?
I live vicariously through Greya.
Okay. So if you queue up and you're a legend, you're gonna face, well, actually I don't know what the new systems are, but you're gonna face like gold or legend. If anything else happens, there's something weird going on. In this game, you can queue up as top 3 and you end up with Holy Mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
The reason for this, and I think this is something that Chris has talked about, is like after, I believe it's after 5 minutes, they start expanding the ELO brackets. And I think it's after 10, it's any ELO brackets.
I think it's.
I think he
used to
clarified
be
later though, saying it was for team ranked only. I think that's what he
Did
tried
I,
to
okay,
clarify.
so don't quote me on that one, but I'm pretty sure it works similarly to that in solo ranked.
I actually think it's even more heavy. Like, I think it used to be after 10 minutes, it opens up to any ELO in solo rank 2, and they changed it to 5 because of, participation or pop frequency.
So
that's how I got it.
I know population is the overall problem. I get that. But you aren't going to get population with a shitty game. And currently we have shitty games. So it's a bit of a catch-22 situation. From my perspective anyway, maybe the numbers tell them something differently. But I mean, look, I will never trust anyone from BioWare who says our numbers say this. Because they told me that no one played team ranked when I was playing team ranked in a guild that had 5 fucking team ranked teams. So it's always going to be nonsense to be their numbers guy. But if you did it, so for example, you have a bracket for sub 1k. You have a bracket of 1 to like, let's say 1250. You have a bracket from 1250 to 1500, and you have 1500 plus. And each one expands into the other bracket after 5 minutes. So if you're 1500 plus, you wait 5 minutes, something happens, it goes down to, let's just call it gold, silver, bronze, and tin. You've got fucking the tin boys should be together. The silver, the bronze boys should be together. The silver boys should be together, and the gold boys should be together. If there's nothing happening in 5 minutes, then the gold bracket opens up to the silver. The silver bracket opens up to the bronze, and the bronze opens up to the tin. And then those things will just intrinsically work better, but that would have to be tied into roles as well, which is why, again, I think getting rid of fucking tanks and heals solves a lot of fucking problems, boys.
It's like that in League of... Now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure it's like that in League of Legends too, where if you are like you can have like high MMR for your bracket, you can be like a platinum and get matched with like diamonds. If you're on the high end of platinum, you'll get matched with diamonds, but you won't get matched with like bronze. So,
I actually think that League has that issue as well, that they always try to create like an average tier. Like you can look that up on OPGG if you have a match. There is always the average tier. And sometimes you have like, especially in the beginning of the season, you have like a challenger, 3 grandmasters, but also a master. And then let's say the other team is 5 grandmasters. And then the question is, can that challenger carry that one master guy so hard that they win?
But that's my point. It's at least like, that's a lot closer.
Oh, of course,
like
it's a big
bronze,
game.
than like a holy mind.
But there's also a way you can do that.
But they
as
have
well.
the same issue. That's what I'm saying. Like they have the population so that it actually works.
There's a solution.
But the issue can still happen the same way.
Let me give you an example, Sarah. Actually, like I'm a nice silver boy, right? So if I'm playing and I've won my last, let's just pull a number up my arse, fucking 3 games at silver. Now I'm eligible for gold. You can have it so it bumps you up a bracket based on your previous performance in the previous bracket over a shorter period of time. Maybe I'm just having a good day, I'm on a hot streak, my fingers are flying like fucking fire, and time to play with the big boys. I win that, oh, well done, you get an ELO bump, you're a little bit closer to being a gold boy yourself.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Kind of like the old placement system, but without placements.
Yeah, I mean,
the crazy thing is, when you have a high population, and I think of like end of season 12, early season 13 on DM, it actually worked like this for a little while. There were pretty clear brackets of like the higher rated players would keep getting each other and the lower rated players would keep getting each other. And then it tapers off because the seasons are too long and there's too many people. However,
Yeah.
so we know that, right? The population's never going to be sustained through the whole season unless you make big changes. So in lieu of that, if you had this bracket system, I would even go one step further to say if you're in that like gold platinum tier, I would want to opt out of any bronze games. I'm not interested in playing in games with people that are
I
800
could be
rated.
abused, is my first kind of thought on that one.
Used how?
Abuse
How do you think?
Well,
How would you abuse that?
so you opt out of the bronze games, so you only ever play in high rated games, whereas then another gold rated player comes along and says, well, I'll opt in because my bronze buddy, who isn't really bronze, can play along with me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
and
even
that's
then,
the problem with low population, right? Like
yeah,
you'd
for
be
sure.
able to
Look,
manipulate it that
population
way.
is the
And yeah, most issues we're talking about would be solved with a higher population.
Yeah, but
anyway.
okay,
sounds
so
like a great-
let me explain the population fucking issue in a nice little analogy for you, all right? The Olympics has the fucking 100-meter sprint, and there's 10 people on there. That doesn't mean you should say, oh, let's open up trials to the fucking public, because maybe if we have Jim from accounting racing against fucking Usain Bolt, we'll have more people taking part. You don't fucking want that. You want to see fast people fucking running versus fast people. Although, now I think about it, having Jim from accounting would be a nice... It would let the average person know how fast these fucking people are. So it would give perspective. You know what I mean? But you just don't want that. You don't ever want to see that. You don't want to be like, oh, fucking, Sting turns up, he's cheesed his way into the Olympics, and then he's fucking flagging 30-second 100-meter sprint. That's the situation that we have at the moment. And I don't see how that is good for anyone. You should just always make that the last fucking option. And by last, I don't mean 5 minutes. I think high elo players will almost unanimously vote for longer queues. If it means
Definitely, if
better
the
games.
game you get is higher quality wise, then obviously you will wait for longer pops. Definitely, 100%.
Yeah, so I just don't really see this as a... I don't see this as the
sounds
issue
like
that BioWare sees it as.
It sounds like a good segue though into suggestions on like how to increase population, specifically like as an example, like shorter seasons, dude.
All
Nobody,
right,
I
boys,
don't
we're
think
skipping number
anybody
2, we
likes
go on
these-
to number 3. Participation, get in there, Craya, let's go.
I just don't think, like, does anyone here actually like these 6-month seasons? I don't think anybody does, but I don't want to speak for you guys. I don't think
Like-
they're actually like 6 to
I'll be
9
honest,
months.
mate,
Dude. More
right?
like 9 months.
I'll be
It would be nice. I was about to say it would be nice if we actually had a 6-month season.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
From my point
Nobody
of view, the
likes
season
6-month
length is
seasons, dude.
completely irrelevant. Because the rewards are just the fucking different number with a flame on it, or a little fucking whatever on it. Some
That's what
mount-
people want, though.
But that's what
want
people
the
want. Yeah,
flares.
Do they?
People
Do they
want the-
really?
Yeah.
yeah, dude.
Fuck
Yeah.
That's
me,
maybe
man.
not you, Snape.
No,
But
that-
like the
I
rest
don't-
of
Come on,
us.
Snape.
No,
Don't
I
say
just-
you
I don't
haven't
care.
dreamed of wearing a gold flare.
No,
The
I,
gold
I,
flame.
I don't use any flare.
Shiny
I,
one.
I could have top 3 and I wouldn't use her as a fucking flare. I just
Dude, I want
wouldn't.
the 10 flare. If 10 flares win.
Yeah, I probably like I use the bronze flag because I think it's better. It's more humiliating to be bronzed.
It is. That's why
Yes.
the bronze flag is my favorite, man.
Yeah, so if you're saying that unanimously across the board I'm wrong and people care about the number being different in the same fucking icon, then absolutely fine. I will just concede the point.
All I'm saying is, like, personally, I don't think anybody likes these 9-month seasons, 10-year-long seasons. It feels like we're going back to, what was it, 2016, 17, when we had that year-long season. It was just like, bro, when
Season
is it
8 or
over?
9. That was forever.
I don't think anybody liked that stuff. Literally,
Really, no.
if they would cut the seasons down to
All right.
2 to 3 months, cut them down 2 to 3 months,
So just for
get rid
Craya,
of these. Go
we're
ahead.
gonna skip from number 3 to number 9 and then go back.
Oh,
Because
dude, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I should have put them higher up anyway. I just did the order as I thought of them. Fixed time period seasons, as in
I think
set
3
in
to 6
stone.
months.
Set in
Mhm.
stone does not change. It is always going to be the same length.
Yeah.
I think 3 months. So the idea.
Having seasons 4 times a year would be sweet, not gonna lie.
Like, they
I think
could-
3 months is like personally a bit too short. I like the 3 to 6 months period, but
No,
having
No,
4 seasons a
'cause-
year would be
No.
really
because
sweet.
3 to 6 is literally a 2 to 1 ratio. I mean, I don't see how that's even comparable.
6 is too long.
Yeah,
6 is
but-
way too long.
And you
Like,
think
I liked
6 months is okay?
I really liked the idea Kreia had, where we make like shorter seasons. Like Kreia suggested 1 month. Let's stay with 3 months here.
Mhm.
But they can actually, these flares. I don't think changing the number is like huge. What's the word? Like You don't need to work that hard for changing that number, right? So they can actually make an automated season reset process. Like that doesn't require a patch or anything. Like they do
Yeah,
in
so
Hearthstone, right?
can I do a
like
little bit of
Hearthstone
a-
doesn't
reference,
need to
yeah.
get patched for season end.
For
Yeah,
reference, this is what before. So people who don't know what I suggested was, and this is going to be radical, so feel free to disagree. That's what this podcast is for. But I suggested that in lieu of these 9-month seasons or year-long seasons where they say, "Oh man, we're coming up with rewards like midway through the season. We don't know what they are yet." This is what I said. I said throw everything from season 1 through whatever season we're in now onto the replica vendor right at the start of the season so that everybody has something to specifically aim for as far as prices.
Yeah.
Scrap making new rewards. Stop making new armor sets, new whatever. Well, specifically armor sets and weapons. So just throw everything that we have on a vendor now, and then the reward for the season is literally an updated flare and maybe titles. That's it. And then that way you can shorten the seasons down. You don't have to have these super long seasons developing a unique reward that people probably won't like anyway, like the current bounty hunter gear that we're getting as a reward for season 13. And everybody, it's mostly the flares. That's something, flares and titles are something that people can just see and recognize at an eye's glance. You know, that's
All right,
mostly
boys.
what I think people want. You know?
Freya, Kwani has just accidentally come up with a good idea whilst being sarcastic. So he said summer season flare, smiley face, 2021. But what if it was seasonal? What if you had
seasonal would be sweet.
No, but what if you had
Winter, spring,
winter,
summer.
spring, summer, autumn,
and you
flares?
had cups, right?
Sure,
Summer
why not?
cup,
That would be
winter
good,
cup.
yeah.
And
That
then
would
what,
be
like
then,
sweet.
and then what you do is you take a pet, and then you give it
That would
whatever
be
color the season is.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
Well, but that would imply. I think it should be something. Maybe take the flare and make the flare for the season, right? Because it needs to be something that's.
So the
Like
flavors,
things
so like summer would be flames, winter would be ice. Yeah, whatever.
That would
the
be
fuck you
really
wanna do.
good. That would be really
I
good.
think
just because,
I might
like,
be the only
pets-
one who doesn't
Go ahead.
like that. And the reason
Yeah.
is I've always seen the flares. If you have a season 13 flare, it
Uh-huh.
means that you were successful in a certain meta against
Oh
certain
no,
players.
the number is
season
in it.
13,
The number is
and
in it.
speaks to
The
that.
icon
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
changes. So
No,
you know as it is right now, the icons are all identical.
Yeah.
So with the current idea of having a 3-season or 4-month long season, it would be the same icon with a different number. What we are saying is make 4 icons that relate to season, as in seasonal weather, and then change the number, not like season
Oh, but
one.
still
something.
change the number. Okay, I thought you were saying don't
Yeah.
change the number.
No, you still
No,
change the number.
Still changing the number. Just like change the flare to be summer, spring, winter, fall. That would be a good idea. Because like
Yeah, and you
I-
can
I
actually use the
hugely agree.
number of the current year, so it's even more relatable. Like
You could
Yeah,
have
but
an
then they'd have
achievement,
to-
I guess.
then they have to scrap like all the previous, probably the previous. Like that would make it harder, I think, to mesh with the current flares. But
well,
what I
they
definitely
would
think
actually have to make like a
but
cut
like-
and then start. Okay, we're gonna
Yeah,
take
okay,
spring
hey, boys, what-
2021 now.
Hey, seriously, that's a great point. What's coming up this Christmas?
Doomsday?
You mean
the
the 10 year?
anniversary. So what a
Yeah.
great
Mhm.
time to kick that off with a seasonal 10th fucking winter flare thing, and then just do it going forward. Because there's
That
a
would
lot
be
of people
so awesome.
like Shaq's a good example. Shaq's got his aesthetic, yeah. He's probably going to be a winter boy, maybe a summer boy, depending on how he's feeling. You know what I mean? He's like, fuck, I gotta
I'm
get
gonna
this
try hard and
I want to be a
I gotta
snowman
get
in
this
the
flare
summer.
because this matches my fucking outfit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like an extra customization, and all you've got to do is take the same icon and change the color. Red,
I mean,
blue,
it's funny, but
green,
it's true, man.
brown.
Like,
to what
it's
you said
true.
too, Snave, I think that would also boost I think that would boost participation too, right? Because then it's like a limited time thing. Even if it comes every year, 4 times, once a year, you have one fall
Limited
season
time's a
per year.
big thing that I wanted to go into. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why I think that would actually boost participation. So that's a good idea because I'm glad that you guys brought that up because I don't know that I don't think I'm alone in this thought, but I think mostly the best type of rewards for PvP are things that people can see. And it's not just armor because you can't really see that with all the particle effects flying. You're not going to see your enemy's armor. You don't give a shit, right? It's flares that you can immediately see on the enemy if you have nameplates and you can see titles. Flares and titles are the most important things that people probably care about, right?
Yes,
And
I
so if
absolutely
you
agree.
go
too.
forward making these limited time season like a summer 2021 flare, fall
Can
2021
I go
flare,
one
whatever.
step further with this one and make
Go
it
ahead.
easy for BioWare to give rewards too? The
Yeah,
reward
exactly.
for each
It cuts it
season
down.
is a tune-in. It's a recolored tune-in. So pick whatever fucking
Mhm.
tune-in you want. I don't give a fuck what tune-in it is. Lightning tune-in. So the summer one is lightning, but it's got a little bit of fire on it. The winter
Yeah,
one
yeah.
is lightning, but it's got a
Snowflakes
little
and
bit of
stuff,
ice
yeah.
on it. It's just
Yeah,
fucking
that's a good
easy
idea,
shit for
dude.
them to do and just
That is a
repeat
good
and
idea.
rinse and repeat and rinse. You haven't got to change it.
They can start putting those in later. It would be already a
Oh, yeah,
great
for sure.
start to have that 3-month spring,
Yeah.
3-month summer, 3-month fall season. I think that's an excellent idea. Like that's
Okay.
perfect.
Brilliant. So we're going to put a pin in that one right now because everyone agrees, and we're going to move on slightly, which is the off season, which will be a month.
So much.
All right. Well, we can do 2 weeks if you want. I'm easy with 2 weeks or a month. The idea that I had for this was during an off season for solo ranked and team ranked, you bring in everyone's favorite fucking dead game mode, 8-man ranked.
That was my idea actually.
For a
And that was a great idea. I
It was a
never
good
liked
idea.
Or was it Snape's one?
Eight-man ranked.
I'm not
Well,
sure
I mean,
anymore.
I don't know, man. I've been talking about it for like 8 fucking years, so
Okay,
I'll
so it's
tip
your
my
idea.
hat to you if you want to have it. But yeah, limited time access, where you play 8, and there's a reward at the end of the season, and the reward is the one that I thought about. And this again would be for the quote unquote gold bracket. You know the hollow rancor they did with the flames and shit on it. Okay, so you give everyone that, but not that. You know they have the mount crystal thing now, where whatever crystal you have changes the color on the mount.
I didn't see that.
Okay, so there's a shitload of mounts, and there's an option. How do you not know this, Shaq? I thought you were the Space Barbie boy.
I didn't know this either. Wait, what?
So there's
Yeah,
loads
I
of,
didn't know that
there's a
either.
lot of mounts in the game where, depending on what
Uh-huh.
color crystal you have in your weapon, the lighting changes on the mount.
Really? I
Did you
didn't
really
know that.
not know that?
Yeah, I
I
never
use
noticed.
Dude, I use the same mount. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Where-
them now.
Bro,
there's-
I fleet stand. Where am I gonna go
Yeah,
to notice?
Yeah, me too. Like I just sit on my mount and don't move an inch until the next spot.
Now the mount is a constant reward. The reward doesn't change, but the reward is BOE. So you still have an incentive to win because you can sell it for fucking gazillions.
I gotcha.
There you go. Same mount. Add in a game
Gotcha.
option that's already in the game option. Add in a recurable benefit because if you've got it once, you can just sell it, give it to alts, do whatever you want with it.
I just
So to
like the
clarify-
idea of 8-man
guess-
ranked during off.
Yeah, maybe
That's
less about the
great.
rewards part, more about the why are we bringing this up.
Yeah,
like-
exactly.
I think we all agree that 8-man ranked is
It'll be a shit show.
more it is more difficult to implement than 4-man ranked, even though some players from
again,
7 years ago will disagree.
I don't
they are
disagree with
just
any of this.
nostalgic fucks.
I'm right with you. I think it would probably, it might not work at all. But if it's a very
Yeah,
limited,
exactly.
if it's a very limited time option,
Exactly.
I don't.
It's an event. It's
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
fucking event for
pre-season
2
event.
weeks or 3 weeks,
I mean,
and
Yeah,
not more.
a month. Put it a
Seriously,
month.
I
for
spent
fuck's
like
sake,
2
yeah.
weeks fucking doing cooking dailies so I could get the title spicy. Do you think I wanted to be doing cooking dailies? Fuck, man, I can play fucking team ranked at 8. It's more
Yeah.
fun.
Exactly.
I
Just
think
have it
the really-
for 2 weeks every 4 months or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, every off season between the seasonal ranked season, you got I don't know 1 or
Well-
2 weeks of preseason or whatever, and then you got that event going.
Yeah,
The really
free-
smart thing about that is you cannot have 4v4 ranked and 8v8 ranked both as permanent features. One
Mhm.
of them will be dead. And it will probably be 8v8 because it's so difficult to field those type of teams.
Well,
But if
Yeah, it
you
shouldn't
keep them,
be-
that's
it
why
sh-
we were saying
yeah.
in the off season, because
So that's exactly
when-
that's why I'm saying it's a good idea. Because if
Yeah.
you keep it as an off season, then it doesn't clash with the other ranked formats.
Yes,
Well,
exactly.
And it keeps it
Yeah.
special because it's a kind of an event type thing.
I do have another
Yeah.
potential fix for the point you just raised up as well, Capri, but we go into point number 12 then, which is I'm now realizing I've horribly arranged this point system. Not in any kind of order whatsoever. But it's about regs, and you could make it about ranked 8s. It'll be a lot easier this way because inherently ranked 8s is ranked. If you tie it into Conquest, because there are lots of guilds who do Conquest with 300 fucking members. So make it balls deep into Conquest. Make sure you get fucking, 10 times the point for doing team ranked. And the Conquest guilds will come. That will populate the fucking queue.
It also has rewards already associated with it because it's conquest. So they get
Exactly.
their large yield or whatever
Yep.
it is.
Yep. So it'll certainly put bums into the queue. It'll certainly make things work that way. I wanted to come back into that a little bit for just regs anyway on its own, because I think that's a good way to increase the state of, increase the quality of games in regs. But you can certainly do that for the event. So you have the I don't know, Garada shoots his load event after every season, and that is then tied in for a limited period to Conquest, and you have limited time rewards, blah 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 blah. However, whenever I try to do these things, right, I try to do it so it requires the minimal effort from BioWare, and I think the Holo Rancor with a recolor that is BOE is the minimal effort for reward that will sell. People will use, because people use it now. People like try to get it when it was a PvP reward, and they buy it off the cartel market, and because it's something unique, it'll sell. So even if you already have it, you have an incentive to get it again, so you can sell it to fucking Dosia for 4 billion credits or some shit. You know, it kind of ticks all the boxes for me. Low effort and possibly high reward.
One other thing you could add in there for rewards, and I'm almost always against bringing back titles, but one area where it might make sense. So in 8v8 ranked, there was Warzone Annihilator and Deadly Contender, which were 2 titles that you could get if you played a certain amount. You could put those up for like purchase, whatever the event currency is. Those are pretty cool titles that almost nobody has, and it would definitely incentivize
you could
ranked. And they're not top 3 titles; they were really participation.
But
titles.
you could do it so
Yep,
it's like a BOP BOE. It's bind on pickup unless you already own it, in which case it's BOE. But again, that might be more code in it, so that might be more difficult. So you have to
I think they
yourself.
can
keep it simple. Keep it
Yeah.
simple. The vendors are already a shit show as it is. Don't make it too hard for them.
But then you'd see Conquest Guilds queue in. Yeah, but the only benefit they get is a mount. So it's not that big of a deal. And if the mount is the sticking problem, then delete the mount and just make it linked to Conquest. It doesn't make a fucking difference. You just want bodies in the queue for it. All right, so participation. Have we gone through that one? No.
I think so.
Yes?
Basically,
Okay, beg your pardon.
I mean, we kind of I think restructuring, changing the. Okay, so to summarize, right? 4 seasons a year based on the actual like themed seasons: spring, summer, fall, winter, right? Shorter seasons, so 3-month seasons, and then like 2 weeks off or whatever, where we have. And during the 3-month seasons, it's solo ranked, which you can queue for, and then during the off season, it's AP8 ranked for like 2 weeks. And then, once the spring season starts, for example, solo or the AP8 ranked queue disappears, and then you bring back solo ranked. And then you change the flares, so basically you get rid of like armor and weapon rewards, you just change it to seasonal flares. So like, I don't know, during the fall you have like a ton of leaves. Instead of the fire effect, you've got leaves falling down the template with like season 17 or whatever the season was. And then the next season would be season 18, and it would have like snowflakes coming down for that season. I don't know, whatever.
Beautiful.
And then, yeah, that's basically it, yeah. So that would change
you could even do
participation.
like the year number, in my opinion. Like, isn't it even more relatable to have?
I mean, yeah, it would be
spring
more
21,
Well, what season are we
summer
on now?
21. Sorry,
What season are we on now?
13.
13.
Around 13. That's the only issue, yeah. It would change. It would mess up. It would be weird to jump from 13 to like 21. But I mean, if they make
It's a new
post saying-
system. You
Well,
can,
I mean,
you can
yeah,
just
exactly.
make a cut
well,
and say.
You
That's
could
true.
do it. You could do it until it caught up, because it's going to be 4 a year. So 13 now would be 17 next year, and will be 21 the year after. Then you're not really far off, and then you could just sync it to year whenever it gets to that fucking year.
I mean, honestly, I'd be fine with
I mean,
it
that's
just
a
saying,
detail.
look, the old systems,
That's
yeah.
I'm honestly
Okay, the
not
old
that
system's
bothered
over.
about it.
Yeah.
All right. So the next part was culture. The culture of ranked. Oh, I hear a couple of. Oh, okay. Shaq is face palming, so let's go, Shaq.
Well, the culture is an interesting topic. I don't think I'm the best suited person to talk about culture in the game,
The Shaq
considering
button.
how autistic and salty I was in the past.
You're more
And I
culture
probably
than culture.
am.
Yeah.
To some extent, yeah. I think Serasi put it really well. The last time we wrote about this with Junkie, I think that Okrea, you said that as well when we're co-oping. See the change you want to see in the world, right? Or what Serasi said, basically, that you can only look how you yourself behave.
Hang on, I want to point out.
But I
that
think
you just did a
there is
Gandhi
no-
quote, right? You did a Gandhi quote, and you attributed it to Junkie.
No, to Kreia, actually.
Oh, Kreia.
But yeah,
beg your
anyway.
pardon.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Anyway, yeah, I think you can. That's what Serasi
I
said
mean,
in
you
the
can also
conversation.
use cunt. Cunt
Yeah,
also
I
works.
can. Yeah, true.
Like you
That's
can
a good
always
one.
you can only change your own behavior.
Pretty
you
much,
can
and
only
to the
behave
extent-
how you
yeah.
want everyone to behave. If
Exactly.
you don't,
Exactly.
and if you're a toxic fuck and everyone else is too, You have a culture of toxic fucks, and that's annoying.
Yeah, and that's not
what
going to
you
be
want.
attractive in terms of relying that, associating that with the popularity and participation. It's not going to be healthy for the overall state of the game if you queue into a game mode, especially if you're unexperienced in you, and then everybody is going to A, global you, B, flag you, and then all 7 of them are going to spit on you. That's not going to motivate you.
The only thing I don't like,
right?
is at the start of a game, and this is pretty much the only thing I don't like, at the very start of a game, when some fucking guy says, "Oh, this is an insta-loss, we've got so-and-so on the team." It's like, yeah, well, it is now, you fucking idiot, because they aren't going to try it. They're like, oh, well, whatever, fuck this kid. Because if they cared about rating, they wouldn't be there in the first place. All you're doing is, like, you're literally pissing on your own cornfenflakes. I don't get it.
That's true. That's true.
I've said
I
this
needed
in
a
the
long
past.
to realize that, but that's
No, but
actually
look, if
true.
you do it like once a night, let's say you play for like 5 hours, and once a night you go, oh, for fuck's sake, is this guy again? All right, fine, I get it. I do it on stream so I can avoid any kind of repercussions in game. So I've got a bit of a pass on this one. But
streamers cheating.
Yeah, but I see it all the fucking time. Like, I join a game, and then some guy who's meant to be the gold-rated player is like, oh, this guy's a fucking idiot. We're gonna lose 100%. I'm just gonna stuck it right now. May as well stuck it, boys. Like, yeah, well, we're fucked now, aren't we? Because like, you aren't gonna try. That player's not gonna try. You're looking for the 2 middle elo people to try and carry the top player and the bottom player. Like, just shut the fuck up.
I
If
mean,
I'm honest, bro,
you're basically RPing as season 11 check right now.
Pretty much. You only missed
Every
the
single
check button,
game
bro.
pre-decided. When it was an auto loss in your
Yeah,
mind,
yeah.
instant
No.
check button.
Pretty much.
That-
And then you had the check button. Don't forget the check button.
What I'm saying is that's the
That was
only thing.
the cherry on the
It's-
top of the toxicity.
It's still blowing my mind how I was one of these few people that actually wrote in chat, "Come on, Shaq, you are so stupid. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And like, you had 70
and
viewers, 80 viewers, and 79 weren't either not watching, or they didn't care, or they didn't bother.
much.
Like, what the fuck?
You know what turned
That was
Shaq around? A good catchphrase. Believe, don't leave.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I guess I cannot leave anymore, right? So you're welcome, boys.
I've said this before.
They
in the past.
100% implemented that because of me. 100%.
I've said this before,
Shit,
but like
was
it's one of those
enjoying
things too. It's one of those things that's like where Snape is talking about how somebody will be like, "Oh, it's that player." Like I've said this in a previous podcast, and I'll repeat it. You know, generally speaking, once a person is kind of like they get that reputation for being that player, even if they get better, it kind of like limits their ability to get better, because even if they do, you're still always going to be that player to other players, right? When you have those people that are vocal in the chat about it. So my honest take, like my take on this is kind of, maybe it's a hot take, right? But this isn't gonna, it's not gonna get better. Yeah, it's not gonna get better until like BioWare does not they don't mute people in game like they should, right? They mute you if you say some
Else you
seriously
mean,
heinous
script.
stuff. And until they start muting people who do that, it's never gonna get better. I'll just be honest, it won't. Now, if people start getting muted for saying, "Oh, look, it's this player," and then just stucking it or saying I'm not gonna try because so and so's shit, this, that, and the other, they're a bot, and then they start getting like muted over and over and over, and you can never just speak in game. That's the best way to do it, dude. You know?
Cap?
I don't know, man.
I don't know, man, if that's a wise choice, because unfortunately, even toxic, like you can be a toxic cunt but still be a good player, and if the
But that's why I
only
said
good
muted.
player
You
in
can
your
still-
team is the toxic cunt and he
You can
wants to
still
call
key,
the
dude.
shot and cannot
I
talk,
think-
I don't know if...
I think
I don't
Caprica
know.
just did the night train and passed away on call.
He said he's going to be AFK for 30
That's correct.
seconds. Like
I was listening to what you guys had to say.
He's just, waiting and then summing it up perfectly, that.
All I was saying was if BioWare started muting people, guess what? Now they
Yeah, but
can't talk
how?
shit, but they can still queue ranked. What do you mean how?
How would they mute them? How would they know who to mute?
Bro, have you seen like any of the PvP chats before the match starts? I don't want to call some people out, but have you seen what some people are saying?
Yeah.
That's how. It's that simple. It's that simple.
So
Look
just
at the
report
chat.
them and then wait for them to
I mean,
action it.
To call one out, like Burning is avoiding the in-game chat by just posting a screen of the scoreboard on some Discord, or maybe even 2 Discords, and just type there. So he avoids the in-game
He is
chat.
literally the
But
worst
guess
one
what?
in the game for it.
Even if he does that, look,
3,
even
I'm
if
not
he
the
does
worst
that,
one anymore. I'm burning, get wrecked, man.
Even if he does
I mean,
that,
somebody
at least-
has to say
3
it,
of
right?
my chains, man.
My
Earning-
point is, even if
You're
he
not
does
the
that in a
only one.
Discord, though, even if he does it in a Discord, at least that's not affecting the new players' morale, right? They're not seeing it right there in their face.
True.
That's my
But
point.
they are also streamers.
Yeah.
And streamers talk, and chat listens, and chat repeats, and
Yeah, monkey says monkey too, man.
Kreia and
That's
Shaq,
true.
when you were both continuously shit talking me the other night when I was in your
Look,
fucking
dude,
game,
I didn't
whilst
talk
I
to
was
you.
actually
No one,
carrying the
I've seen
fuck
that.
out of
talk to
you.
you. You didn't.
That was between
Look,
you and
dude,
Kreia.
I'll be
I was
honest.
just having a
guys-
comment stage
I
game.
don't want to get into this.
Listen.
My blood's already boiling.
All I would say is, look, dude, everybody can get tilted sometimes, all right? If I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry.
No,
to say
it's
if I
fine.
love you. I'm sorry.
Do you know what I
He's just
did?
picking on you.
Do you know what I did to deal with it?
What?
I turned
What'd you do?
your stream off.
It's that.
I just
It's that
went on with my
Wait, you
life.
can't
You
do
hit
that.
X.
Can you imagine?
Caprica, what's your opinion on toxicity? How do you fix it?
I
Can you
think
fix it?
one piece here. I think some players kind of feel entitled to a win in solo ranks.
Yeah, Shaq.
When you're queuing into solo ranked, there's an element of RNG, and sometimes you will get a bad deal of the cards. But if you want to be a top player, you will either try and take something positive from the game, so work on some aspect of your game, work on surviving, work on doing damage, whatever. Or if you actually start to approach games like you can win them all, you'll be surprised how many games you can actually win. And there are games that you'll lose, but you'd be surprised. And there's a couple players who approach it that way, and it's worked out for them.
Cap, what's your rating right now?
In solo ranked,
Yeah.
Sniper's 1950 something.
1950. Do you hear that, boys? Hey, Burnin, you paying fucking attention? He's playing a fucking sniper, and through the power of positivity, he's got 1950.
It's not even positivity. It's taking like responsibility for your own performance.
That's
like
even
you're not
better.
always going to have teammates.
Burnin, do you hear that shit?
carry you.
He's playing fucking sniper, and through the power of responsibility, he's 1950.
It might
Yeah,
sound kumbaya, but I'm just saying part of the toxicity
I agree
problem
with you,
is I
man.
think players just don't try and take positive things from games, and they just defeat themselves. And calling people
Definitely
shit on
agree.
your team before it starts, what you're doing is you're allowing one loss to lead to more losses, because now those people don't want to play with you,
Yeah,
and they
Burnin.
might start to play worse. You might have gotten in their head, all that stuff. So
I agree.
Yeah,
now I
Burnin,
will say
I believe there's a phrase, mate. If you can't take the heat, get out of the fucking kitchen.
damn drama bait is going on you, Cap.
that's all
So
right.
yeah, that's the question. That's actually
Coming for you.
I don't know if that's the topic for now, but like I wanted to ask you that. I've read that a lot recently, and maybe it ties a bit into what Chris said. But is selective queuing a thing for
We'll
you?
get to that, check. That's
Okay,
we're not
I
there
need
yet.
to remember
We're not there
that.
yet.
Okay, because I've never heard that before.
No, we're not going to get to that. Kakui's got a free
Okay.
pass. He can take as much as he
Okay,
wants. Also, I would ignore the guy. He's called Drama Bait, for fuck's sake, and I'm amazed his keyboard is working because everything he said is covered in dribble. So like, just ignore the guy. I think what Capri said is correct. One of my pet peeves in solo rank is let me give an example because what's his face? Jedi Pedo is a good guy. He joins the game. He should be telling people what to do because he knows better than anyone there. He plays all the different classes. He knows all the different players. The role of leader should really fall onto his shoulders, and that's unfair to a degree because maybe he doesn't want to be doing all that kind of stuff. But I mean, if you want to win, you probably should. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? I just don't see players doing that. You know, I've done it in games where I don't ask anyone for targets. I don't mark any targets. I just say nothing. It's a bit like playing chicken, you know. You stare at the fucking timer to see if anyone else will take over the fucking responsibility before you do. 90% of the time, no one says fucking shit.
I think that's just like
I'll be honest. I just mark
everyone
targets sometimes.
tries to start like this, or at the start of being a ranked player, everyone tries to be like positive, and then after a while, you know, or after a losing streak, like
Would you say that's positive?
we all just lose it sometimes, right?
Marking targets is a positivity?
No,
No,
what,
I mean,
what he,
like,
yeah, go on, Serasi, sorry.
yeah, you can jump in. I don't have the right words right now, I guess.
So basically what he's saying is that every one of us is human, and at some point you have had, let's say, 6 shitty games for God knows the reason,
sure,
and
but
you lost them all.
I think Saiten is
And then you cannot expect the same player, even though he might be statistically the most known or best in the game.
I get your point completely. I think what you're doing is using as an exception as a general, and I just don't think that works out because you're assuming the player's lost a bunch of games and that's why they.
It doesn't need to do. Like, it doesn't have to do with the losing per se, but like you cannot expect a specific player to like take the responsibility.
Okay, but then isn't it reasonable for me to say back you can't expect the people who aren't as good to make as good a decision?
That's perfectly fair.
So I mean, they're the ones, the good players are the ones complaining. The ones who are good are the ones complaining about the bad players and the bad decision. They can control that. The bad players can't by virtue of them being bad players.
Yeah, but I mean, we all would agree that complaining doesn't get you anywhere.
I'm not talking about complaining. I'm talking about literally marking targets.
Yeah, sure, but like, okay, when I have a positive mindset, I'll always like call a strat and I'll be like, not toxic, not negative. You know, I'll just say, okay, we join a game. Sometimes there are players I know. I meme around a bit and then I call a strat. So that's like my typical way to approach a solo ranked game.
Yeah.
And usually people follow that strat. Sometimes it leads to victory, sometimes it doesn't. But when I play for 3 hours, and from like 2:30 until 3 hours, in that period of half an hour, I lost every single game. I might be mad at that game, at the next upcoming game, and the one after, and the one after, and I'm toxic in every single game of them. That can happen, even to a person that is generally with positive mindset. But not everyone is as positive anyway.
For sure, but all of my life, I've always been praised, and I've always thought that I'm very good at communicating my points. But multiple times tonight, it's just like you can't use I've lost some games throughout the course of the night to justify a general behavior.
No,
a default behavior.
But okay, so you're gonna go to
and if you're the person,
people that do that and tell them, hey, your behavior is bad, please change, or what?
No, well, my idea would be you should look to what helps you win, because if you're the good player and winning is the reason that you're upset, then winning is the reason that you'll be happy. But yeah, I consistently see these people sabotage their own effort and then complain about their own sabotage. You know, it's like the whole fucking stick in the wheel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the spiral of death.
All I'm saying is, if the reason that I give strats, right? I am not the fucking most qualified person to give strats. I don't even fucking know 90% of my own alts, let alone the people on the enemy team. You know, I don't know. I'm just look at the class and think, oh fuck. Sometimes I look up the elo rating to see whether I can just do it by elo. But I do it because I want to win the fucking game. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm Captain fucking Silver Boy here, solid Silver Slave, trying to like work out strats and tactics. Whereas you got people who are like top 3 on multiple classes, who are like gold rate on whatever it is, who then they say absolutely nothing until someone dies, and then like, oh my god, you're shit, I fucking hate you.
Honestly though, Snave, here's the thing, and this might not be necessarily true to a large degree, but honestly, I've kind of, because I've thought about what you're saying as well, and I kind of think this might be true to a certain degree, right? I think to a certain degree, there are some people, and I'm not going to say a majority or say any type of number, but I think there are some people who prefer to not call a strat because they don't want their strat to be wrong and then get the blame. And on top of that, I think there are also people who prefer to be able to point the blame at somebody when a strat fails, right? Those are the first people to say, oh, what are you guys doing? Why are we doing that? Why are we doing this? How come we didn't just do this? And it's like, you never said anything in chat, so why would we do
I
disagree as well.
Yeah, me too. And I agree only to a certain
First of all, people usually want to blame the worst player on their team. It doesn't have anything to do with the strat or who called the strat. Usually the worst player gets blamed, no matter if it's his fault
believing
or not.
That's true. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's true.
No,
that's
it's
true.
not at all.
It is.
That happens sometimes.
Sorry?
Sometimes
it happens sometimes. It doesn't happen all the time. I blame people.
I'm not saying it happens all the time, but it happens
that's what I generally see. Like I usually blame actually the players I know or the better players, because I expected more from you. Hi, Snave.
Thank you, Cersei. I'm glad that you used me as an example, because that means you think I'm good, and that actually warms my heart.
But I'm an exception. I'm an exception there, probably. Like,
I definitely
usually
well, I was
players fall into the trap of not blaming other good players because they are the
Yeah.
good players. They are protected by their skill.
I was just about to say that, dude. There's been a lot of times where I will be the first one to admit, like, something happened in a game and I completely just fucked it up. It was 100% my fault. And then I'll see in chat, so and so, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And I'm just like, and I'll literally type in chat, nah, dude, that's my bad. Or I'll type it at the beginning of the next round.
I do
But
that
there's
all the
a lot
time
of
as well.
times, yeah, there's a lot of times where people will blame somebody, and I know for a fact it's my fault, and it's like, nah, dude, like.
The reason
you-
that no,
yeah.
the reason that I say is my fault as soon as it's
Mhm.
like my fault is because I know that if anyone else fucked up, they won't get any of that shit.
Yeah.
So like I don't mind people, like, people have been calling me shit since I've started, like, installed the game. It's just like par for the course for me. I don't really mind.
Mhm.
But I know that if they call, like, you know, the shitty player on the team who also fucked up a load, they call him shit, it's probably going to make him not play very well. So by saying it's my fucking fault, you kind of bypass that. It's
You
about
know what?
agency,
You
man.
make me remember something, Snave. I had that talk. I think it was with Alim a couple of weeks ago. About not only do the players who tend to blame the supposedly worst player in the team, but on the top of that, they blame him with stuff he didn't even do. Like,
Yes.
what I've seen the last couple
Yes,
of weeks
of
is
course.
that a lot of people
Dude, I
just
apologize.
straight
No,
up make up stuff, bro. Like, it's insane. Like, someone does something, he
Yeah,
dies,
Freya.
whatever, gets global or breaks, falls, or whatever, and then people make up stuff, like behavioral stuff that didn't even happen, and that dude didn't understand what was going on and is taking this shit talk, and he has no clue, and the others like are just straight up making up stuff
And I will
shit.
admit, bro.
And I was
the
there,
most-
dude, bro. I was
Check.
sitting there and I was like, "This was me 4 months ago, bro." You know
the
what I
most-
mean?
100% right, dude.
It
'cause,
was
like that.
so retarded,
that
bro.
night-
I had the epiphany. That was the moment where I knew, okay, I'm outie. I'm outie.
That
The
night-
most
Check.
common
Mm,
thing I see is
good.
when players are like, "Oh, we lost because this guy didn't chase the Mara," but it was wrong to chase the Mara in that
Exactly,
scenario.
stuff
right?
like that. Like, it's not.
the
In the heat of the moment, there are sometimes due to DCD or breaker better stuff to swap on. I agree, Selassie, man.
Like
And-
the person that
I
made the
agree.
mistake. Let's say the streamer is the guy that makes the mistake, and he lies dead on the ground, and he goes on the scoreboard and says, "Oh, we lost because this guy didn't chase."
All right, I
Yeah.
feel
But in
I feel
reality,
personally attacked. here.
First, the streamer that says it was to blame, and second, it was actually wrong in that scenario to chase that Mara. So he's wrong in two ways. But who's gonna actually go ahead and analyze that and say, "Hey, you're wrong."
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty much.
It's true, dude.
Pretty
Like a good example of this, a great example, right? So that night that you and I were co-oping Shek, and so I've tried to learn Sage, which I've never played any other class in ranked besides Sin for like 10 years. And I'd never played Sage in ranked ever, or Sork. So I was like, okay, I want to learn to play Sage/Sork. And there was a game, dude, where I died, and I was like, all 3 of the enemy DPS was on me. How come? Where was my team? My team was nowhere. And then Snave rightfully pointed out, well, look, dude, this is what happened. It didn't happen the way that you thought it happened. And then I went
Pretty
back,
much,
and
yeah,
I
that's
looked
a
at
good
it,
example.
I reviewed
Good
it, and he was right.
Yeah,
And I was like,
fuck
you know
you,
what, dude, you're
Korea,
right.
piece of
That was
shit.
my
Yeah.
I was like, you're right. That was my bad. And I was just tilted. And
Excuse
that's what
me.
some people
No,
fail
no,
to
whoa,
realize.
whoa, whoa,
They fail
whoa,
to-
whoa. Oh, pump the brakes
Go
for a
ahead.
second, Korea, because you've just taken responsibility for your actions, which is admirable, but it disarms me always making fun of you for that. So I would prefer it if you didn't do that, and you just said that you were right, so we can argue, and I can always make fun of you about it.
I was right, bro, and you were wrong.
Fuck you,
But-
Korea.
the bottom
But
line
seriously, though, go ahead, Cap.
If you try and make the players around you better in a solo rank match, you will increase your win rate. And one of the ways that you can do that as an experienced player is calling targets and a CC target. I do that in 100% of my matches, and I can tell you it has increased my win rate. And yeah, you'll have some people who won't listen, whatever. But more times than not, it is a productive thing to do if you're an experienced player, and it teaches the players who are less experienced how to play as well, which will also increase your win rate in the long run.
And that's how you get
Like,
1950
objectively
boys.
speaking, definitely, but subjectively speaking, that's unfortunately not the case.
I can tell you that's been my
What's not
experience.
the
Maybe
case?
you've had a different
but,
one, but
what-
that's how
I
it's been
mean,
for me.
subjectively in the sense that when you get triggered or when you lose or whatever reason or your real life or whatever, you don't play clean. You know what I mean? Like, you're not calm. You're your
That's not even what I'm
or
talking
whatever.
about.
Yeah, but
Everyone
here's
blows
what-
up sometimes. I'm talking
Yeah.
about like a more general mindset.
There's consistently a problem here where people are using minority examples to disprove a general premise. Shit doesn't work that way. Like
So
generally,
don't get me wrong, Sniff. I agree with you. Like what you said is
you,
like
you want to
just
throw down, check.
it
You want
is
to throw
healthy
hands.
for your own win rate. Like I agree with what you and Caprica said. What I want to say, it's easier said than done. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that point. Like,
But
of
it's
course,
definitely easier said than done. Yeah.
I don't think
in
it's
an
easier said
ideal
than done.
world,
It's literally
I think
nobody
it's
type
is
of
really
strat.
toxic.
No,
Everyone
if
is.
you're an emotional person and you're like linked to the games, then yeah, I mean, I can definitely see how it is that way. But I think generally speaking, it's like, look, if you're fighting a PvE boss, you set out strats, someone says here, someone stands there. Eventually, you get tilted because one guy isn't interrupting or whatever the fuck it is, and you might lose your shit. But fundamentally, if you lose your shit and just antagonize that person and tell them that they're crap and then kick them from the group, you aren't necessarily going to make it better for yourself. You're like self-sabotaging.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
true.
All right,
true.
so we need to move on because we were on this topic for way too fucking long.
That's true.
NA, let's merge NA. Any disagreement?
No.
Wait,
That
what?
was an interesting one. So like you're saying, Satil Shan and Starforge.
Yeah, because they're both
So-
East Coast or West Coast.
Well,
Whatever
yeah,
they are.
logically they're both East Coast servers, so it's been weird that they've been separate. And from my understanding, I don't play on Satil Shan, but I
I
think
have
the
an
population is
explanation.
really low.
I have an explanation as to why they haven't been merged. So there was a post before, I believe it was from Muscatino, who said that contractually they're obliged to have 2 NA, 1 French, 1 German, 1 EU, 1 English-speaking server, which is why it hasn't happened. I don't know if that's still the case. I don't know if that's correct. I did message Chris about it a long time ago, asking if it was still correct. He said he'd look into it, and he'd never come back to me. He never came back to me. But that's... I remember reading that somewhere, and it's such a weird thing. I don't think I would have made that up myself. But I
can see one
couldn't
West
find
Coast and one East Coast for ping.
it was
but
2
not
NA.
two
It
East
was
Coast.
it was
That
it was
just
2
doesn't
NA
make sense.
servers, 1 French. Well, why did the French and German servers exist? Like this fucking... Like, what's the... You know what I mean? Like, that's even less of a reason than any of the NA ones, you know? They shouldn't be the same. So I think that might be the reason, but I also believe they should be merged. So maybe they can look into that. I don't think there's a downside to merging the servers apart from names.
Yeah, that's a pretty
Yeah.
small.
I
downside.
think that impacts more of like the general population more than PvP. Of they don't want to lose their names, they don't want to lose
Yeah.
their guilds and stuff like that.
Can I give you guys a pro tip if you're an RPer who doesn't want to lose their name? Yeah, just pretend that you had to change your name as part of your RP. Like when Obi-Wan became Ben Kenobi, he just transferred to a different server. Just pretend like you. This is what I don't get with RPers. Like, oh, my name. Like, yeah, just pretend. You're playing a game of fucking pretend. Just pretend your name changed. Jesus fucking Christ. That's RP 101.
Just another cold and calloused PvPer, Snave.
Look, Ben Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi. He transferred to Tatooine. There was already an Obi-Wan Kenobi, so he couldn't do it. He changed it into Ben. When Luke turns up, when Luke turns up, he says, "Oh, Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's a name I haven't heard since the servers got merged."
God.
Do you know what I mean? He doesn't give a fuck. He's called Ben. Anyway,
Cam.
maps.
Hang on.
Your cam died. Oh, it's
Yeah, I dropped it.
Sorry?
I dropped it.
Oh, new maps.
Okay, so I might be controversial here, but I don't think we need a new map. I don't think we want.
me
Yeah.
neither, man.
I don't think we need new
I
maps.
agree.
Don't-
we need
don't-
fixed maps and not
Yeah.
new maps.
All right,
Don't
so-
make another map. That's shit.
and again, I just want to
Yeah.
move this on a little
Me
bit
too.
quickly because we got to run really fucking long otherwise.
Mhm.
They removed Crash and they removed Vandin because it didn't work. Remove fucking random death, Mandalorian, phase walk doesn't work on a fucking angle. Just delete that map from the fucking game because not only is it a piece of shit map anyway, it doesn't fucking work.
Also,
PvP
fixed
is
phase war.
not scripted. I
Fixed
don't
phase
think
walk,
you
yeah, that's the
need
banner, hashtag
tons
fixed
of
phase
new
walk.
maps all the time.
New maps are
Unlike
good and
Operation.
exciting. I know new content always gets everyone dick hard. It's just, look, if you look at the maps, what are the maps they've released, right? Quash, Vandin, Mandalorian Battle Arena, and Odessen. Those are the 4 worst maps in the fucking game, and they're so bad they removed 2 of them because they didn't
So
fucking
bad.
work.
So
So
Yavin was probably somewhere in there too.
yeah, but Yavin is fucking reskinned Civil War. That's not a new map. That's Civil War with fucking trees.
It's Civil War with worse FPS.
It's, you know what I mean?
Pretty
That's not a new map. They literally took the same map and just changed some of the graphics. It's not,
So,
you know.
since I'm on the other side of this argument, can I give my opinion?
Sure.
Since I disagree with you guys, Personally, the reason that I would like a new arena is because each arena, other than like the RP, environmental, I'm fighting on quest, whatever nonsense, they have different strats, like as far as like up and down. It's literally just, it's that simple. That's why I want a new map.
To mix it up.
how
a
you,
bit.
like
So,
how, yeah,
do
how
you
play,
like
for example-
Mandalorian Battle Arena when you drop down
Well, no,
and die
not
instantly?
okay. I'm not talking about.
Am I
those
the
ones.
only one who
They
doesn't
can
hate that
literally,
map?
they can
I
literally
actually
just
like that map.
It just
Me
well,
too,
yeah,
man.
Capri
I
likes
don't
it because
hate
he knows he
Sniper's
can
Paradise.
fucking vent hump and knock back.
To knock you back into your
It's
spot.
the
I think
worst
there are a
fucking
lot of
designed map.
interesting
Okay,
places to
map
be made.
quality aside, right? Map quality aside, the reason I want a new map, it has nothing to do with like they could just make a better map. But the point is,
You
I
can't
like
just say
how the
map
playstyle-
quality aside. Like,
well,
map quality is
this is what I'm
very
trying to say,
important.
though. I agree. This is what I'm trying to say. Just because they've made terrible maps in the past doesn't mean they're not capable of making a good map. And where I'm trying to go with this is how you play melee or ranged on like, what is that one wide open one? The square, right?
Corellia, it's the most
Yeah,
beautiful map.
how you play on Corellia Square is completely different than how you would play on like Orbital Station.
Yeah.
Right? Or how
Right.
you would play on Tatooine Canyon. That's why I want a new map. It has nothing to do with like I personally don't like the Mandalorian Ring one. I think they could have done better. But like the Rishi one with the waterfall, that's not a bad map in my opinion.
Yeah, when was
I
that
think
map
that's an okay
introduced
map.
though? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like the previous ones they've done, apart from the reskin, 2 of them have been removed from the game because they're so fucking broken.
hmm
Make it
And
work.
like I said, they could make a better map. All I'm saying is that's why I would want a new map is because it offers a different type of playstyle based on that map if they do it correctly.
I think the
Just
only
make more
argument for new maps is if there's like average maps, it would dilute the amount you get shit maps.
hmm
And
I
don't think
think
that's a good
the
argument.
biggest thing
I
for me
think-
though, Kreia, is with limited resources, you're probably picking between a new map and like the season stuff that we were talking about, or
Well, the
something that
thing-
you think might
And
increase
for what it's
participation.
worth, a new map is like the very last thing on my list.
Right.
I'm just saying why I would like a new map. If you were getting one 100%, I would personally like a new map because of those reasons. I'm not
So-
saying that they should prioritize it over anything. I'm just saying
Yeah.
I would personally like a new map because it offers a different type of playstyle.
That's fair.
I also think they if they decide to do a new map, which we agree is not a priority, but if they don't need to do a complicated one.
Oh,
Like
fuck
PvP,
no.
PvP lives from like how players interact. And
Do you know what I
yes,
want to do, Xerasi? You'll like this idea because I've spent at least 5 minutes thinking about it, right? I think they should
Mhm.
take the fucking Vandin Quash map and they should change it into a Death Ball map. Just change the entire way that the point system works, change the entire fucking mechanics overall. Because fundamentally, the map is fine. The issue is the engine, and you can play around that by removing the platforms and making it a deathmatch map. I was thinking about asking Lyala about this, whether we could get access to the actual map designer, because I think that one would work very well for a death ball deathmatch type thing where you get points per kill rather than anything else. But yeah, sorry.
Can I tune into like
Sarah,
what I
just
think?
interrupted Sarah, so you don't want to finish.
ahead.
Beg your pardon.
Go ahead.
well, I was just saying, like for an arena map, not talking about Rex, but for arenas, all we need is like a few blocks, so we have some LOS, and that's already good enough. Just don't make these super complicated things like Rishi, where you're stuck everywhere. Like you're always stuck on that stupid bridge that is broken, right? On the fence or whatever. It's a cool map, yes, but these little objects break the game,
Yeah, true.
and
I
they are
agree.
not needed. Like we don't.
That's where I was going next. I was saying the best. Okay, so this is just my opinion. The best maps for me personally are like Corellia Square, and is it McKeb, the one with the bridge, right?
Yeah, that's
So
mechanic.
those and the reason that I like Rishi is because it's similar, not the battle ring, but Rishi is similar enough to like something like the McKeb map. The best types of maps in my opinion are the maps where information is easily gleaned by just looking at the screen, right? The reason that I don't like Mandalorian Ring is because it'll say if you literally look at the screen, oh, he's 5 meters away from me, but he's not. He's actually on a completely different level. Okay.
So
The
annoying.
reason I don't like Quest Ball, right? When I tried doing a little bit of healing for fun in regs on Quest Ball, oh, they're 10 meters away from me. They're on a completely different level, so you can't heal
Could
them.
they fix that
Those
with like
types
a
of maps,
up-down indicator?
those types of yeah, those types of, well, it's not even just that. It's just those types of maps are hard to easily glean information from. Corellia Square, oh, they're 10 meters away from me. Well, guess what? It's a wide open map, so if I don't see them, they're on the other side of that wall where people place their phase walk, right? So you know to go around. Like, it's easily gleanable information just by looking at your screen. Mandalorian Ring is like the worst map for gleaning information just by using your eyes and using what's available to you, like the range indicator on the ops frame, for example.
Yeah, but I mean, like
Like-
I said, wouldn't just
But it's the thrill of the surprise.
a green
Might
up
be behind
arrow
the corner
or
or not.
a red
Yeah,
down
up,
arrow
down.
would fix it.
That would be good, yeah. Or just make maps that aren't like Mando Ring and Quest Ball,
Yes.
Quest Ball and Bandon, etc.
Well,
Just make
they've
simple
gone
maps.
now, so that's good. We've gone through
Yeah.
the fixed season. Rewards
Mm-hmm.
wise, we've gone through rewards, desert the lockout for rags, general state of rags. I actually wanted to talk about this for a bit because I don't think any of you play rags, do you?
I play
No.
Rex a lot.
Now and then.
Yeah.
Rarely.
Yeah,
Rarely,
rarely is probably what I
yeah.
do.
I
Once
see,
in a while at 6 a.m. maybe.
I play
I love Rex, dude.
I play a fair bit of rags. I usually do like 1 or 2 games at the start of every stream, and then when I'm hammered and obviously dying, I play a couple at the end of the stream as well. But my experience of playing rags is very disconnected from the forum feedback for rags, because in my opinion, the rags quality has gone up by quite a fair bit.
Popularity, really? You mean
not-
players playing more Rex on a regular basis? Or
Well,
what?
rags pops 24/7, so I mean, I
If
don't
you talk about
necessarily
the
mean
quality,
that. The quality of the
not the
game.
population.
So the reason I started playing solo ranked, because I don't really like solo ranked as a game mode, especially versus rags, is because it was just so frustrating to deal with people who just didn't do anything in the game whatsoever other than stand somewhere and DPS. And I know you're like, oh, it's just rags, bro. Let me farm DPS, bro. Cool. You know, you play the game however you want to play the game, but ultimately you're fucking it up for everyone else who wants to play the map properly. And if I had a similar attitude towards solo ranked, you'd be vote kicking me if it was an option. You know, so it's like if I'm like, I want to DPS the Mando even though he's not target, be like, well, you're losing the game for us. It's the same attitude as far as I'm concerned. Now people are playing to win, in my experience, like substantially more, so way more. And people are complaining on the forums. It seems to be more like a Rothelstomp complaint, where they are complaining that they get against the pre-made and they get farmed. But I mean, that should be a 50-50 thing, shouldn't it? I mean, that you should be matched with the pre-made as likely as you are against it. So I don't necessarily see
I don't
that.
know if that's necessarily true though, just because you know that we have the whole hidden MMR thing for reg. So for all we know, it could be the same as ranked. Just not
I
visibly.
don't think it works that way. Just don't know how. I would imagine my rags elo is fairly substantial, and it doesn't seem that way to me at all. You know, it seems like the pre-made system doesn't necessarily work that way.
So I play a lot of regs as well, mostly when before ranked is popping. I just don't stream it because I feel like maybe that's not something that people want to see. But I do a lot of it mostly to test different stuff, different set bonuses, different amplifiers, etc. I can't say that my experience mirrors the people on the forum either, and I don't even queue as pre-mates. I just queue solo.
I
by
queue
myself.
solo as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't seen the whole raffle stomp. Oh, it's this bad type of thing. I mean, so I don't know.
Look, it
people are just
happens
expecting
sometimes.
to win
Do
100%
you know what I
of the
mean?
time.
Like, it does happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but
I'm not saying it doesn't happen either. I just don't think that it's as big of a deal as people are making it out to be, and I don't want to diminish their opinions, but at the same time,
well, I completely want to diminish
they're
their
wrong.
opinions. I think they're full of shit. Yeah, I don't know. I just think look, if you're playing all day and you get unlucky against primos all the time, then I mean, look, it's bad luck. You know the reason for your loss, but you can solve that problem by making your own pre-made. And if you have more pre-mades in the queues, then the games will be more balanced. I mean, I've been saying this for fucking years. The solution to pre-mades is not get rid of pre-mades; it's get more pre-mades. That's how you get better games. You know what I mean? It's a very linear thing for me, which is what I wanted to touch on. We've talked about this before, which is a ranked system for rags. Now, you cannot use the term ranked for rags because rags is intrinsically unranked PvP. Which is why I like the idea of tying it into conquest or achievements, or having just some kind of tracking, so you can get that kind of feedback loop of I'm doing good, I'm doing well. So it's like a win-loss tracker would be an easy one. How many regs you won, how many regs have you lost? You know, you can have it so you gain some kind of ranked comms from doing it. You can have some kind of achievement from it, like win win 100 games queuing solo, win 100 games queued as a team. Like,
I mean, it kind of used to be like that, right? When you got
It did.
ranked tokens for regs.
mate, regs back in the day was fucking like just pugs. Regs was good. You know,
But
it's
I'm
just,
saying like there was a type of progression where people queued regs to get ranked gear.
yeah, because it was linear gear. Yeah. Sorry, it was flat currency gear. Yeah, absolutely. I don't. Yeah, I've already got it. Hula hoop, thank you. I just think having some kind of leaderboard type situation would benefit regs a great deal. I just don't think making your elo visible is the way that you do it, because that is like intrinsically what a lot of people don't want.
Do you mean like a kind of like the conquest leaderboard type of thing?
So something where it's you could do it by guild if you wanted
In-game?
to. You know what I mean? Like queue as a pre-made with your guild, get conquest points, that kind of shit.
So, can I talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
So I actually had an idea, right? And feel free to say that it's a terrible idea, but I had an idea that if they were to tie in being able to dominate maps, war zones, like you can have your how you can dominate planets, right? How it will literally show your guild's name at the top of a planet, but you could do that for war zones. I think that would bring back PvP guilds, but that's just my opinion.
That's actually a very good idea.
If it said, Snave's guild was like the in the placard of I don't know, what is that, Hypergate, right? Just like it says when you go to Odessa to do your dailies, and it says, oh, this planet is dominated by this guild. If they did that for Warzone maps, I think that would revitalize PvP guilds.
Fluff. I think that's a very good idea. But I think it's something they should look into, because intrinsically, the reason I like regs is because you have to coordinate to work towards a goal, a common goal, which isn't just being, micro boy and killing people. You want to do that in addition to other things, bits and pieces. And the reason that regs went downhill was because people had the mindset of, lol, it's just regs, I'm going to farm DPS, which turned all the games into a shit show. And no matter how you feel about that is just the situation that occurred, and it's gone downhill and downhill and downhill.
I agree.
Anything that makes it better in terms of making it more objective, because let's not fucking pretend that DPS isn't important in regs. This is the mind-blowing shit to me. It's super important in regs. Pressure is how you win every single fucking game. So it's I would really like to see something along those lines, whether it's tied into achievements or conquest or any type of thing. But for a second, I want to hand stuff over to Caprica, because he wants to talk about team ranked rewards, and I need to go to the toilet. So Capri, take it away.
Yeah, I think just real quick, I think this is not, I'm not the only one who said this, but I really think for team ranked, losses need to count towards the weekly. Whether it's at a 1-3 or 1-4 ratio. Participation for team rank right now, at least in NA, is really bad. There's probably 2 competitive teams and then a few teams that'll queue now and then. But the reason that teams will not queue through losses is they have no reason to. It doesn't count towards the weekly. They have a 0% chance of winning against the top teams. If you give people more incentive to sit in the queue, they will play more games against teams that are similarly skilled as them, because more teams are in the queue in the first place. It's how it worked in Season 10. There were tons of map farmer teams that would play each other, and ELO actually kind of worked. But I think it's a really easy change, and I think it's something that would help team ranked a little bit, is if you had the losses count towards the weekly.
So how is the data on solo ranked on NA, by the way? I have no idea what is going on in team ranked. I only see people complaining. That's all I see, but what's the reality of team ranked?
At least on Starforge, there's 2 competitive teams, and then there's map farming teams who will do everything in their power to dodge those 2 teams. And I don't blame them, because they won't win those games, and the losses don't give them anything.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, so as someone who does a lot of team ranked, what would you personally, since you know basically the ins and outs, what would you suggest to actually bolster and make people want to do team ranked? Why did you want to do team ranked at first? I'm sure it had something to do with wanting to be competitive, right? How do you incentivize people to want to get into team ranked as opposed to solo ranked or no PvP at all?
There's no situation in solo ranked in which you will have a 0% chance of winning the game.
True.
In team ranked, that is the reality for anyone who's not the top 2 teams. And because they get nothing for sitting in queue, I don't even think they get barely any comms, they get no mats, and their rating looks like shit, of course they're going to dodge. I don't blame them at all.
Yeah.
In season 10, when we had losses count towards the weekly, you had a lot more map farming teams who would queue through losses and who would play each other.
Is that a good
So
thing?
that's one thing. That's one thing.
Is that a good thing, though?
I think it is, because then what happens is the map farming teams will play each other, so they'll have more similarly skilled games, and the top teams will play each other. That is definitely how it worked, at least for a time in season 10.
So
Do you think that's the
I
only
think
way to
this is
foster
actually-
participation, though?
No, not the only way, but I think it's an easy way that could
Okay.
contribute to it.
I think this is actually what we touched on in the last podcast before the new mods, the new augments were live. And I think at least the conclusion I drew was mods or mats are they will revive Team Ranked, which they did, but we'll see if it's good enough to have a season 9, season 10 like feeling, right?
Yeah, it hasn't been.
And I think it's not. Like
Yeah.
it's alive, it pops, but it's not good enough. So
One of
maybe
There's
the,
a better
um,
reward than mats, though?
I mean,
they could
for
offer?
sure. But one of the things that I really disliked about the whole mats and team ranked thing is they added mats to team ranked. Great, people will click the buttons. But now you've got like the same 8 chuckle fucks on Discord going, "Oh, this guild is queuing against themselves at this hour," and like unless you're sat in the, it doesn't pop that much unless you're sat in the queue all day long.
Yeah, Team Ranked is not competitive, unfortunately.
It's like you put an incentive in to get things, and then you complain in when people are trying to game the system, whilst you are yourself trying to game the system because you want to play against those weaker teams to get the same match yourself, albeit more air quotations fairly. If you're gonna do it for losses, absolutely fine. Fucking just give the shit away. Do you know what I mean? Like that's literally what you're doing. You're saying if you spend an hour playing team ranked every night, you will get X amount of reward. And if that's the way you want team ranked to work, then cool. But
The important thing, though, the important byproduct of that as well, yes, they're getting mats, but they're also getting more games against more similarly skilled teams. So they're actually starting to gain some skill as a team. They, right now, learn nothing
That's
by
very
playing the
optimistic,
top 2
though,
teams
like-
on each server.
yeah, it's assuming that making the mats more accessible, population of Team Rank
Okay.
will go up.
So
And when you have population going up, you will have actual matchmaking, right? And that's
for
the
me-
ideal scenario.
you conflate in 2 different motivational points here. Because like what Capri-san is saying is if more people pay, they'll get better, they'll get more equally matched teams, it'll be fun, yada yada yada. The
Saying
point-
that they will necessarily
But
get
no,
better. He's
they-
just
they-
saying
they
that
won't.
if the
We're not talking about any learning experience.
Yeah.
and the
Okay,
queue
beg your
is
pardon. They-
boring.
From my point of view, they won't even try because they'll run in and die because that's more efficient in order to get their losses and get their rewards. Because they aren't
True.
there
Okay,
for
is there-
PvP.
Okay,
They're there
so-
for the rewards.
That's not
Okay,
what
so
season 10
you're-
showed, though.
You're basically saying there will be 8 farmers and 50. No, wrong word. There will be 8 people that farm mud farmers, and the other 92 players are just running in and dying because they are mud farmers.
No, what
Do
I'm
you think
saying.
that's how
what,
it's gonna
what
work
I'm saying
when there
is
are
you can
100 people?
what I'm saying is you conflate in 2 different motivational points as one. You're saying that people will go in and they'll try in PvP and they'll try and win, whereas if mats are the only reason that they're there, it is far more efficient on their time for them to run in, die efficiently, and re-queue and die efficiently and just get it done and dusted just to get the reward.
Well,
They're
there-
two completely different reasons for queuing.
Yeah, but they will still be incentivized to win
Yeah,
because then they get their rewards faster.
Okay, so
pretty much.
let's say it's a
They're
5.
all-
No, not necessarily. Let's say it's a 5-to-1 ratio. Yeah. If it's an equally matched game, so we'll say it's a 3-round game, that's going to take them 10 to 15 minutes. They can run in and die in 2, leave, run in and die, leave, run in and die, run in and die, run in and die. In terms of effort, it might not be as time effective, but that's assuming they win, which they might not. It's
That's what I was
easier
asking.
and better for
Do
them
you-
to lose over and over and over again. Do you not think?
So do you guys, okay, Caprica, do you think there's a better incentive than mats to get people to actually want to participate in team ranked properly to win the game?
I'll tell you the main problem, and one of the solutions I think is mats for losses, but it's just one possible solution. The problem is games are too lopsided in team ranked for the top teams playing everybody else. Literally 0% chance of them winning. It's not fun for them. They'll learn nothing from getting clobbered to that extent. So you have to find some way to entice more teams to queue so that there's more skill levels in the queue, rather than just the same 8 people who play all the time and will win every game.
But I'm saying once you get those people in the queue, right? Once they're in the queue, how do you shift their mindset from I'm in the queue because I want to get mats that are expensive and make a ton of credits to I'm in the queue to win? Because one mindset, right? I'm in the queue to get mats to make a ton of credits. You're going to do it the most efficient way possible, which is probably going in, everybody stucks it, you just keep doing it like Snave said. But you want people probably to get in there and say, okay, this is actually fun, I want to be competitive. I'm asking you, what kind of rewards do you need, or what incentives or systems need to be in place to transition those mat farming teams who want to be efficient with their time to credits gained into competitive teams?
Yeah, and first, just real quick, to be clear, in the current season, there are people win trading for mats. So it's not like it would only happen if losses were implemented. From my perspective, there's like 3 different types of team rank teams. There's the actual competitive, like full-time teams who play all the time. There's kickball teams, and there's mat farming teams. It's really the kickball teams who have nowhere to go right now, because if they queue up, they're only going to get us, and they're just going to get destroyed, which is not fun for anybody. So if there's a way that you can entice more of those players who actually want to play team ranked and want to experience the format while putting some rewards on it, I think you would get more people into it. There's always going to be people who abuse the mat system, like whether there's wins or losses. That's just a reality.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't disagree with anything you said. I think the middle class is the most important thing for
exactly. That's what I'm trying to get at. Those kickball teams who could turn into real teams. And I can tell you this season on Starforge, there's probably been between 6 and 8 kickball teams who could have turned into real teams had they been able to play more games that were within their skill bracket, rather than get against us or the other top team and just getting destroyed. They don't learn anything, they don't get anything.
Like a quick question here, right? Do you think the problem is the rewards are just too juicy? Because you get, what, like 40 million for every RPM?
Well, they would be worth less if losses counted towards the weekly, because there's more supply.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's why I asked, do you think there's a different reward that can be offered?
I actually didn't think of that at all. And I'm disappointed in myself for not thinking of that. Yeah, they would be,
like,
wouldn't they?
Do you think there should be, like, should there be... Alright, so this is probably not realistic. Let's take off our realistic hats for a second. But should there be different rewards for solo ranked and team ranked?
No, because team ranked people would win trade to get the rewards.
It's not even that. It's just too much effort. I just don't think.
Well, that's why I said take off the realistic hat for a second. But let's assume that it's not.
Or should they be? Yeah, they should be.
It would take the competitiveness, the little bit of competitiveness, if there is any at all, out of solo rank. Like, people wouldn't queue solo rank. Why go through the drama if you can win trade in team rank? Easy clap, top 3, man.
Because if everyone's queuing team ranked, you can't win trade.
Yeah, if everyone's queuing, yeah, exactly.
But then maybe that's a positive side effect. I hope that, though.
So,
like, I would see a lot of people just the mat farming and throwing for each other.
We're kind of going into the history part where
that happened,
season 9, solo rank did not die. Like, team rank was alive as fuck, but solo rank did not die. It still happened, right? So now the question is, do we have the same base population that we had in season 9 after server merge? Probably not. But yeah, we're still like at the point of last podcast.
Yeah,
we have the mats back in team rank now, and we can adjust them. Can we adjust them into a direction so that more people queue? If more people queue, you will have actual team ranked.
If team rank was competitive, a lot of only solo rank players would definitely start queuing team rank more seriously.
The problem is,
like, I'm one of those. Like, I enjoyed back then. When was the mat farming season? Season 9, 8, 9, 10, whatever it was. I don't like team ranked. I never really seriously had a team or whatever. But I like queuing
you queued
with
like 200 games with Russell, Psyker, and Titan.
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, in season 9, and I queued with a Limelot, and I queued with a lot of others who are only solo ranked.
You just cannot say you don't enjoy team rank because you have literally played 100 games of team rank.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I enjoyed it back then because the queue was like, there were enough teams in queue for it to be competitive to some extent. You know what I mean?
Exactly. and
Yeah.
we want to get back to that or
Yeah.
make it better than it was back then.
Yeah.
And
And
I think in
one
order
possible
to have
solution
that,
is adding losses to the weekly.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
from my point of view, right, I'm very anti-reward in losses because I believe it breeds a behavior that you shouldn't reward, potentially, and almost certainly in this video game. But what you said about the decrease, no, it's true. The decrease.
Yeah, it is. It's funny because it's true.
The decrease of value of mats based on the abundance of mats is an interesting point, because if you devalue the currency, so this is something I haven't thought about before, because well, I didn't think of it. It would be the honest one, but I'm wondering now, how much would the RPMs be worth if losses were counted towards finishing your team
the
rank?
charge matter substantiators in Season 9, Season 10 were like 10 mil a pop.
Exactly.
Yeah, but were they 40 million to begin with? What were they at the beginning?
Well, on the first day, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they were probably
Yeah.
But
expensive.
then
at the
they were
beginning,
dropping quite fast to like 5 to 10 million or less.
Because I guess you could probably work out the percentage based on previous behavior. Like if mats devalued themselves by 50% over X amount of time, you could probably work it out.
Is it bad though if mats are devalued? I don't.
No, I'm not saying that's a
Okay,
bad
they
thing.
get
I-
actually
I-
more
I'm
accessible.
saying
That's a good thing.
it's a good thing.
That's good.
because
Yeah. If anything.
people have
Yeah.
less
People
of an
can
incentive.
actually use the augments.
So
Yeah.
my intrinsic fear around this is when you give juicy as fuck rewards, like 40 million for every fucking quest that you do every single day, people will game that system in the most efficient way possible, which is run in and die as many fucking times as it takes just to get it done. Because maybe you play for 2 hours and you get 40 million. That's better than doing solos, better than doing, solo dailies or whatever. It's just a better way of farming money. So you need to remove that
question, though.
incentive somehow.
Here's
Yeah,
the
but
question.
we're actually like we're only talking about mats right now, but there is also that other incentive of elo in team ranked. Like people
Yeah,
actually
imagine
want
not
elo
caring
in
about
team
that.
ranked.
How funny that is. Our discussion revolves around making it attractive and disregarding
I
completely
disagree.
the leather and the leatherbots. It's
Okay,
ridiculous.
let me-
When
let
you
me-
think about it, it's completely ridiculous.
I'll explain to you why I disagree, right? The people who care about elo are the ones who are going to play in addition to the mat, not specifically because of the mat. They want
Yeah,
to
but-
get the elo. They're always going to queue up because they want to get it.
Okay, can I jump in? So what Caprica was saying, there were 6 to 8 teams on SF. He calls them kickball teams.
Yeah.
And they didn't queue because they would just lose to the top teams, right? If they had a reliable way to gain elo in team ranked, they would queue 100% all the
yeah,
time.
definitely. Yeah.
So
And feel like they're getting better at the game. That's the other important thing.
That would happen automatically. Like
Yeah.
you cannot get worse, right? So,
Okay, so
if you're playing similarly skilled teams.
I've had a glass of whiskey, and this is going to be my hot take on this. Whatever they have in place at the moment clearly isn't working. And I see as many people complaining about people win trading for mats because they're organizing guild events and that kind of shit, and they do anything else. Because there's people in the queue, the numbers are up, but there's not good numbers. There's unhealthy numbers. And you can go on the PvP and just scroll up, man. There's loads of screenshots on there of like midnight queuers or whatever the fuck it is, 4 a.m. queuers. I think
well, you will always have the 4 a.m. queuers, but
pretty much.
there's a
like,
lot of them.
even if a queue is alive, you will still have 4
Yeah,
a.m.
and people doing
queuers.
guild events. I mean, come on, there's a lot of them. Let's not pretend that it's not an issue.
Yeah,
it
it will happen even if queue is alive. Yeah, that's for
I'm at
sure.
the point now with Team Ranked where I think that it's a bit like God. Anything is better than nothing. So if they wanted to try it, I mean, it would be good even just for the augments, because they've been in the game for a while now and the prices haven't really dropped because of scarcity. And I think you can put a pin in it now and say it isn't working. That you may have more numbers, but they're not necessarily good numbers, and they're not necessarily the behavior that you want regardless. So I think moving it to a loss system might actually be a good idea. Because really, you need the middle class, don't you? You just need the middle class.
That's kind of what it boils down to. Because Team Ranked right now is highly competitive for about 12 people.
It's so against what I actually believe, though. Like it inherently as a person, like I just feel like you queue for a competitive game mode because you want to compete. Like that's just how
I think if the population was higher and teams could feel a sense of progression.
God, you've got to
like,
sell your
okay,
soul so much for this shit, haven't you? The population, you've got to bend over every fucking possible way.
It's like basically, if they had teams to play against, they would get better over time, and eventually they would be a competitive team. But that's a fundamental difference between team ranked and solo ranked. RNG has been removed, and you have 4 players who play all the time with a lot of experience versus a new team. They have literally a 0% chance of winning. So there has to be some way to get them to play more teams in their skill level, or at the very least incentivize them to stick around so that more teams will stick around and they'll get games.
Okay, so we're in January now, which was the arse end of January. I think there's not going to be an expansion until next Christmas at the earliest, and I would imagine the 10th anniversary would have an expansion. So I think like flipping the caps off and making it so you can just get these things maybe March time, adding in losses then isn't such a bad idea. Just because it doesn't necessarily matter, because there's an expansion in 9 months anyway.
At the very least, it would give us some data to say, what does it look like pre and post, and did it help the population?
I just hate it because I feel like I'm getting like DP'd by fucking lost traders, and I just hate that shit. I don't know, man. It's such a negative behavior to encourage. I'm just so anti it. I don't know what else to say about it. That's my own issue, I guess.
Yeah,
and I think that has to be moderated. Sure. If teams are going in and stucking just to do the weekly, that has to be moderated.
Yeah,
but that's what's going to happen. Like, that's how you said earlier, Caprica. That's the reality of it. That's going to be unavoidable. You take the free mets for the losses with the price and the consequences of having that scenarios like the 4 AM queues, whatever, or people stacking. Well, that's unavoidable. You take one with the other, or you don't.
I hate this shit.
Yeah, but that's how
I don't
the game
think that's
is
different
right
though.
Now.
If right now it is most efficient because wins only count. Teams will organize against each other to win trade. And that is probably faster than if you had losses and people actually
but you could possibly get banned and reset for that. I mean, there's a big downside to it. Let's not like put our
over. Yeah, but they don't care. Those people that do that probably don't care about being banned and reset, right? They just cared about the mats anyway.
If you reset the credits, they'll care.
Okay, yeah, there you go. That'll do.
But I'll tell you what I feel like. You know when you
gotta
watch
touch them where it hurts, man.
You know when you watch like a cop film where you see a cop do something dirty, and then the next day he does something a little bit dirty, and slowly he descends into becoming a really dirty cop. That's how I feel right now, agreeing with the fucking loss shit. I feel like it's a concession against my fiber of my being. I don't know. I hate it.
No, I get that, Snipe. I agree with you, but you need to accept that. Like I, in the past, was much more frustrated about contain trading than I am today. Like at some point, you gotta accept it, and you just get your gold and be happy, man.
Snave, I think we both agree on the fact that that middle class, that like kickball of teams, is who we need to get incentivized.
It's essential for any game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, solo ranked heroes. Like.
Honestly,
you have
exactly.
You
need solo ranked heroes to have an incentive to try team ranked.
I would love to do team ranked.
No.
I would love to do team ranked. The reason I've never actually tried to field a team for team ranked is literally because the population. Like I don't want to just sit there, not knowing if someone's in queue because I know team ranked is much more dead than solo.
By appointment right now.
But also, Cersei is assuming that solo ranked heroes have 3 friends they can queue with.
Like we got Discord servers we are on. Like I feel like with the kickpoints idea, everybody could queue with everybody at this point in terms of skill, and the games would be competitive. I can like only on the Discord server from Jet, dude, we could form 5 teams and they would be all on a level where the games would be super competitive.
But Shek, then you get back to the problem: the team who's losing and losing consistently gets absolutely nothing except a shit elo and nothing to show for it.
I guess, yeah.
That's why I think you have to, in some way, incentivize people to stick around.
Right, boys. So I got a section here on feedback, but I think we probably covered most of this anyway.
I agree.
The only thing that I wanted to bring up is I called it the pseudo class rep program. So the class rep program, I think, was one of the best ideas that BioWare ever had, but they BioWared it and implemented it in the worst possible way.
BioWared it.
Well, I mean, I always call it BioWare on it because I've seen over the years where they've had a lot of good intentions that are just terribly implemented, you know. So I'm wondering whether it's worth them reaching out independently and possibly privately to individual specific players to get succinct and good feedback from them, as opposed to the kind of like pray and spray shit we got at the moment. Because it doesn't matter where I go, every single feedback channel, whether it's the forums or Discord or stream, they all have like a fairly echo chambery feel. Myself included in this one as well. And I think it would probably be better if they had some kind of direct channel to a small number of players who provide good feedback. Now,
So here's the problem. Like, we are all probably too invested in the whole thing to have like that aura of actually providing like objectively good feedback. Like how can players like us?
We are
okay,
too
so
biased.
I wouldn't necessarily
like
say.
how can we tell
I
why
wouldn't.
I
I
agree
wouldn't
with
say.
Sebastian as
Okay,
well,
so,
he's right.
first of all, check your egos. I wouldn't suggest any of us, apart from maybe Capri and maybe Kreia, apart from Kreia being wrong
Like,
about 3 players
like
chasing him.
people like Elenus, dude, would be, and I've said this before. People like Elenus who have no vested interest, right, in Assassin being good. It's about this is what it is. This is the math behind what it is. This should either be better or worse based on where all the other 7 classes are. That's what we need. We don't need. It doesn't like, and I said this before. It doesn't need to be a popularity contest. We need people like Elenus who are objective and use math. Math and stats are good.
But
And
I
I feel
think
like
the
a lot
issue
of
with that
people-
is like that's literally the
Go ahead.
jobs of the people designing the classes.
But even though it's the job of the people designing the classes, there's still players who go above and like look at the theory crafting Discord, dude. There's players that are going above and beyond, like
Yeah. One
what's that
second,
person's
let
name,
me log
Niva?
into my alt account. I'll have a look at it.
like people like Nia or Niva. Sorry, I'm sorry if I'm saying their name incorrectly, but they've done a lot of like individual research into the math behind the classes, how they work, why they work, and they could tell you, oh, off the top of their head, this is good because this is like this percentage of margin away from this spec. That's what we need, but for every class, you know, we don't need people saying, oh, my opinion is this, and because it's because I'm a better player than you, that's just how it is. That's not a good system. So unless you can find objective people like the people in the theory crafting Discord who don't do PvP,
I don't agree with that in any way,
you'll be
shape,
good
or
to go.
form. Just for the record,
You'll be good to go.
I understand what you're saying. I just don't agree with that. I think what you do is
That's
you
fine.
pick people who can give good feedback more
Mhm.
so than anything else, and then you get their feedback, and then you go through your internal channels and where you think about whether you want to implement it or not.
So
As long
think
as
Snave.
no matter what they do, as long as it's in private, I think that would be a good system.
Snave, this is a real question because I'm not aware of what the reason was, but why did the class rep system fail? Didn't they try that for a while?
Okay,
and
so I
abandoned it?
actually was the class rep, so I am the best qualified person to answer this one. The reason that it didn't work is because the idea was that you had a direct line with the dev and you could like communicate your problems. But the way that it's implemented was you had to ask 3 questions. Then Musco gave those 3 questions to the devs. Then the devs replied to Musco the answers to those 3 questions. Then he put them on the forum. And there was no follow-up questions. There was no kind of like, well, what about this? What about that? What about X, Y, and Z? So what happened with me was I laid out I'll just call it spectacular 3 questions. Easily the best class rep, not even close. And the answers they gave were incredibly removed from the questions.
Okay.
But you're not allowed to answer follow-up questions. It's not a conversation. So it's a bit like if I said to you, like if you asked the question, let's say you're the team ranked rep, for example, and you say, I think introducing losses would be good, and the dev comes back and says, we don't. And then that's the fucking, that's it. You're like, oh, well, I fucking asked the question for that, and that's my answer. It was just a waste of fucking time. I will highlight how much of a waste of the time it is with the best example I can think of, which was the sorcerer class rep. One of his questions was, can we use left-handed lightsabers because it breaks our immersion when we have to use right-handed lightsabers?
Oh shit.
This was a class balance thing, by the way, you know, so...
So is it fair to say it was a mix of poor execution from a communication standpoint, but also some of the players were probably not the right ones?
Without a doubt, the majority of the players weren't the correct one because it was done as a popularity vote contest.
Right.
What you had with, well, all of them, was they would, you know, farm votes. So like Gadars, for example, was the Mara class rep, and in all fairness, Gadars was a very good class rep. But he paid people on the fleet to give him votes. He'd be like, I'll give you 100k if you give me a vote on the forum. He'd go there, he'd wait, and then he'd pay them.
Would you agree though that So really, the only one we have access to now is mostly Chris, right?
Yeah.
But would you agree that now the channels of communication are much better in such a way
Exponentially
that
better.
in
Exponentially
such a
better.
way that it would be the class rep system would be a better success now as opposed to then?
Oh, 100%. I think fundamentally it's a great idea. If you go back to my first interview with Musco, I asked him what do you think went the best this year, and he said the class rep program, and I literally just burst out fucking laughing at him because it was so badly fucking done. How you would ever associate pride to that is beyond me. But fundamentally, getting a person who can give you feedback, relatively objective feedback, is a godsend for anything. It's like, I don't know what jobs you all have, but if you had an end user who used your product who was also good at giving you feedback, you would want that every single fucking day of your life.
So as a suggestion then, what do you think about this suggestion? I don't know how much effort this would be, but what if they brought back the class rep system, but they did it privately? They made and they had somebody as community facing as Chris, and they just made a Discord group or whatever and made everybody sign NDAs, just like when they used to do PTS with ZORs, and make everybody sign NDAs and then have a personal Discord group where they can chat and say, hey, this is what we're thinking, this is what the community is thinking on this.
I think that execution, I think that's a very,
that?
very good idea, and that's really what I would suggest. The issue that I've got with it is who do they select?
Yeah.
Because
that's
if you go by any metric that I can think of, really, you aren't going to get necessarily the best person for the job. That's just what it boils down to. It's like, let me give an example. I host 1v1 tournaments. I'm not good at 1v1s.
But you'd be the person to go to for organizing them.
If someone wants advice on hosting a 1v1 tournament, it's better to ask me than Alim. Do you know what I mean? Whereas he's a much better duelist, and that's the issue that you run into with these things. Is like the big swinging dicks of the community are generally not the ones who will give you good feedback. It's a lot like asking fucking Usain Bolt, about trainers. What the fuck does he know about trainers? There's not fucking anything about trainers, materials.
Coaches,
you want to get.
Coaches aren't the best players. So
all of the best coaches aren't the best players. I don't think there's ever been one who is.
Well, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So that's the issue, is the criteria. So whatever criteria they want to use, fine. It's just I'm very twitchy about it, just because how badly it was done the first time, and you could end up with a situation where you've got just way out of left field. Plus, you got to bear in mind a lot of the people who are very good are 12. And they're going to get people oh, buff my class. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was going to say that you have to have a class. Does it have to be a class?
No, I wouldn't have said class rep. I use class rep as the example of one that's already existed.
I wanted to expand on that a little bit in terms of in fighting cheaters and win traders. It's kind of similar there. It would be nice to have a player or players they trust or are trustable that can give them reliable information fast because they play the mode, right? But then again, how do they select? Every player,
this is a great example though, because
has some personal.
But they've done this though. They have done this because they unbanned Mero when he did he said he would grass up all the people and tell them how they did it in exchange for him being unbanned. That's how he got on. That's a
very, very unofficial thing.
But what you did was you took a person who was doing something, and then you rewarded them for doing it because they could give you information on it, and that's what you want to avoid. That's my fear about it all. I don't know how they do it. If you look at WoW, for example, I think it's relatively easy. You'd go to someone you go to a Method or a team like that, and you'd say, look, give us feedback. You're all good players. You're all invested in the game. You all want the best for the game. I think in this game it's a lot different because, the caliber of person is a lot lower, and the caliber of player is a lot lower.
It used to be like that.
Quality and skill is just different as well.
ZORs they were the ones that were.
Oh, dude, don't fucking talk about ZORs. They did it with ZORs, and then ZORs just fucking mocked them the entire fucking time. They flew them out to a ceremony to give them a plaque, and then ZORs were just literally making fun of them as it was happening. It was terrible.
But that's my point. My point is they've tried it. Is my point. I wasn't saying I was saying it's possible because they've done it. Is what I'm trying to say.
It's definitely possible.
They still invite the top PvE guilds to test their new raids in advance before it's an open PTS.
I would say there's a different type of feedback because you have mechanical feedback. You can look at how the interaction works and you can see how it goes.
That's because it works. It's not live feedback. It's actually PTS feedback.
WoW has a private server. Yeah, I mean, look, I know these types of things exist in other games. I just don't think they exist in this game, and I don't know who you would trust in this game. Like Jed would be a good example. He plays all the classes. He knows all the different things. You know, you need someone who's relatively veteran and sane.
Yeah, but he also, has a history and likes certain players and
that's
doesn't
the
like
fucking,
other players.
That's the problem. You know, I was.
That's the problem with every single one of us.
We are all biased. They're
but
toxic cunts, man.
It's the problem with the.
That's gonna be difficult. We're no role models.
It's the problem with the PvP Discord as well, though, because like I go in there now and it's like the same 5 people just wanking each other off about the same fucking thing.
I mean, most of us don't write anything either, so it's not like
I definitely don't write anything.
Yeah.
How can you say that?
I mean, I
Sarah
spam
is
shit.
typing.
And I mean, most of the time, it's not constructive. Like my comments are not constructive.
Whenever
They're
you're
slighted.
involved in any discussion, it's like 300 plus new messages.
Yeah, I know, right?
How can you say you don't type a lot?
Bro, half of them are gifs of me molding, and then 50% of it is triggering someone, and the rest is emote spamming.
All right, boys. So I'm gonna move on to the last topic because we're gonna be getting on to 3 hours here. It's the corrupted dev drama.
Oh my god! Should I? I'm going out. See ya.
I want to cover this. I want to cover this very, very quickly because it's just something I think that needs to be nipped in the bud.
I'm gonna shut up about that before I say something wrong again.
As opposed to anything else. So there was some brouhaha the other day when BioChris said, and this is a direct quote, "If I told you the total number of accounts that held all top 3s, you may be surprised. It's a small number. That's not skill. That is manipulation." Now, that obviously meta-triggered Alim, whom I believe is still molded over it. He then followed up, replying to Alim, saying, "Yes, I do not believe that top 3s are held in general by folks logging in during any particular hour, with zero knowledge who else may or may not be in the queue, and just hitting a button and playing. So I do not believe that it is some great equal playing field in which a very small number of players is consistently higher skilled on certain classes than other. And this is very important. All things being equal, it is statistically unlikely. Higher skilled in general, faster reflexes, superior meta knowledge, and application for more than one class, sure. But that's not what's going on, and by large, in our observations, and from you all talk about by yourselves." Which is, I think is reasonable. There's historically been a lot of shenanigans with top 3s. Stain's a good example. I think he held multiple top 3s. It's just if you have actually attained them yourself through legal purposes, I can understand why you would take umbrage to that comment.
So, yeah, I want to comment on that because I think that comment, and specifically with Alim, I don't think that comment was targeted to the legitimate players.
No.
So I found it a bit confusing the way that he took that.
Well, like I said, I can see why you would take offense to it if you did get it legitimate.
I can totally see why you would. I'm just saying, I don't think that he was specifically targeting. He didn't say all top 3s, blah, 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 blah. He said, you'd be surprised to know how many. It wasn't like a you. It was just, if there's 10 players with top 3s, maybe 3 are legit and 7 aren't. Like, he didn't say the specific number.
Well, I think the amount of bans last season is pretty good evidence.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't really make sense to take personal offense to that and then kind of rant back because I don't think that he was targeting a line.
Wait, Capri, did he get top 3 last season?
I've gotten it most seasons, not last season. I didn't really play last season.
I think.
What a shit!
I think it is absolutely. Like I also took offense to that, especially because he said, "And from what you all talk about yourselves." And I actually think that was mostly targeted to me saying that the skill gap is actually quite high, and that skill gap is actually the reason why the competition around like the top 3 spots is not that high. So
let me give you a different take on that because my interpretation of that comment is very different.
Yeah, I took that more like how Burning and some other people say so and so win trade. Like it's like
literally on that Discord, everyone is constantly accusing everyone of win trading top 3.
That's what I took it as. Not like Sarasi said that it has to do with skill. I think it was more so what you guys say amongst yourselves was more so about him pointing out specifically how people are always saying this person win traded. Look at this person's sus, etc. Right? It wasn't trying to discount that skill is involved.
I don't want to
Okay.
dwell on this one too long, and I just want to say, Alan, everyone knows you're legit top 3, mate. It's all right. You're amazing. We all love you. Okay, you're the god. You are the god of solar ranked. The next comment was one from today where he said this was regarding win trading for Tiamat. Sigh. This is why you don't have nice things. Why you won't have nice things, and why you should remember these times, because the future will be quite different. When you wax nostalgic about the old days, remember this, because this is the reason.
Wait,
So
what?
I think that's an,
I
I
don't
think
get that
specifically that's I think what they're going to do is either make a large sweeping change to team ranked, or literally just what Cap suggested and bring back losses, and then people might, because I think that's
I
the way
have
that
no
that come
idea
out-
how you get that from that comment, because he's
Yeah,
literally
same,
saying,
like-
this is why you
Can-
won't have nice things. They're removing mats.
Can before we interpret what he means or what they are gonna do, please explain that comment to me, because I don't
Yeah,
get it.
I didn't, and yeah, me neither.
Like,
Okay,
I
so
don't know what he means.
so in the
Me
build
neither.
up in the build up
That would be
in the
sweet,
build
yeah.
up to this, there was a lot of screenshots of guilds who were air quotes win trading in team rank for mats. So it was like screenshots of 8 in one war zone, like 4 a.m. in the morning.
there-
and there was quite a few of them.
There were two guys that were bitching each other
Yeah.
on like, yeah,
So
okay.
look, I don't know how serious to take this comment, and I don't want to discourage Chris from being as active as possible. I just want to kind of put across that when you have an exploitable system that gets exploited, I don't really think you should be like Pikachu face over it.
yeah.
Like, what
Like
the
I
fuck
took
did you
it
think
kind of
would
like
happen?
I took it like they were gonna make some type of implement some type of change that maybe we won't like. Like and
This is why
specifically,
you won't have nice things. I mean, that just seems
Yeah,
pretty direct to me.
it seems like they're either gonna take mats out or
Yeah.
they're gonna re-add the whole loss thing, and then because my thought is if they re-add the loss thing, then people will be like, oh, now there's people just win trading for mats and queue because they can just loot, etc. Right? That's kind of how I saw that. But I mean,
How,
I don't
how
see-
about this? He just once again skipped through the Discord channel and was like, "Oh my god, these guys are so annoying. Yeah, this is why you won't have nice things."
Probably,
That's
yeah.
all. No
That's
more
probably it.
interpretation.
There's a lot of people that will just ping him for no reason, so I could see that for.
Yeah,
I mean,
same.
Yeah.
I don't
Followed
necessarily.
with a Chris Kappa face.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
Straight up.
Yeah, he didn't
That
though.
makes
But
sense,
what?
But
I
still,
see.
I
wouldn't
kinda-
really look into it overall though.
Yeah,
So
I
since
guess this might be some kind of over interpretation. Maybe with Shakespeare and him here.
It could
So
just be
I-
a simple trolling comment.
Since
I
this is the
think
last
it's
point,
worth talking about. That's all.
but since this is the last point on our list, I actually don't like how little we talked about the one before, like the
1v4?
top 3 equals manipulator thing.
Oh yeah,
Go,
yeah.
go balls
I
deep,
actually
man.
think
The
that
floor is
comment
yours,
has
Sarah.
more. That comment has more implications than what we touched on. Like,
I think it's kind of simple though, right?
I
Like,
don't.
it's-
I don't think this is a complicated topic, but Sarah,
Yeah.
go on. Go
no,
full.
I just think it's
I-
not.
I want to hear conspiracy.
No, I just don't
Conspiracy.
think it's like, okay, it's easy to understand it that way, and I think it's not a very smart move by Chris in that case
Phrase it.
to
yeah, like that.
basically call everyone that went for top 3 and got it in whatever way, but just basically is saying everything or everyone, especially the ones that got multiple top 3s. Yeah, that's not skill, that's manipulation.
Yeah, that's insulting.
That's not a
how
very
I got
smart
it as
move
well.
I
to
just don't
do.
think that's how he meant it, and I think you're taking too much personal offense to that. That's just my.
That's how I
opinion.
understood it as
I
well.
actually
by the
interpreted
way.
it pretty similar to how Sarasi was saying.
Yeah, me too.
Because
And
I mean,
I don't think it's helpful because it just like
Yeah,
casts
exactly.
doubt on the whole system. To me, you would make that statement as a precursor to removing top 3 titles. Like
Pretty much.
I don't
pretty
understand why you would say something like that because
One
actually-
second,
Especially as
one
a
second,
deaf
boys.
man,
I got my
like-
tinfoil hat. I'm just gonna put it on Sarah's head.
No, but
Let
like
me just-
that's how
let me
I
just
took
make
it
one
as
point.
well.
good.
let me just make one point. I was talking with Alum about this the other day. It's like
Hey,
the way that you know that top 3 is generally skill based, and yes, there are people that cheat. We know that, and they usually get banned. But the way that you know it's generally skill based is there are repeat people. If there were a different group of 3 for every class every season, it'd be RNG. There would be really no skill about it. But because people are able to repeat and they're able to do the things, they're able to play a certain way, they're able to, do all the things that makes you a good player. They're able to get multiple top 3s. And to me, that is a indicator that top threes are generally aligned to skill, recognizing that some people cheat and get banned.
Aligned to skill, you say, eh?
But I agree, like, that's the reason we play, like, that's the reason I play. If there wasn't, like, single players that could get multiple top threes in a row due to the fact that they are just better than everybody else, there would be no reason to play the game.
Let's end this with a nice, succinct way of trying to disarm any potential dramas here. If Chris is watching this, he is welcome to join us on the next podcast where he can freely explain his intentions and what he meant the entire time. It's an open invitation. He is welcome whenever he wants.
Okay, so when Chris turns up, we just remove all of us and just leave Caprica. So
Yeah,
he actually gets
Caprica.
feedback then.
Caprica's the same, exactly. He just, like, phrased everything so well. He hit the nail on the
Just
head.
leave that juice box there, Snave. Chris can come and talk to a juice box.
The juice box between you and Chris, that's
slap in the
perfect.
galaxy. Yeah, I think
The
people
fountain of
I think people are
wisdom.
reading a little bit too much malice and kind of like harm into what he's saying. I didn't take it necessarily that way personally,
didn't
but
either,
my
man.
interpretation is not necessarily the gospel interpretation. Only one way to find out, Bio Chris.
Yeah, he could always just literally just explain it, you know, that way we don't have to assume. But I think it was literally just kind of like the people who are legit know they're legit. Outside of those people, there's probably a lot of people trying to do shenanigans for top threes, like in team ranked. That's all I took. That it was. I mean, I took it that
Yeah.
simply. I didn't see
Okay.
that much deeper.
But one last thing, what we didn't touch on, and we can just make it a small or a quick flash round, basically. Top 3 versus a fixed platinum tier.
Oh my
Elo
god,
value.
finally! I was so
Like,
afraid it wouldn't be
Just
brought
do
up.
a quick disagree or agree.
Oh,
Like, I
thank
think
you, Siras. I agree
I would
100
agree.
million percent.
What do you think
I
about
would
that,
like it
Caprica?
to have
So you mean
platinum.
you get a certain rating threshold and you get platinum?
So basically,
Yeah.
you get rid of top threes, right? And then you create a new tier, which is platinum, which has the same mechanics of top 3. It's the highest ended elo, not
Yep.
so highest current basically. So for example, if you end the season and your highest current elo is like, for this season, right, gold is what, 15? So let's say it's 17, hypothetically speaking. You have to end the season at 1700, and then if you manage to do that, you get the platinum flare. And then get rid
Nah.
of top threes.
No,
I wouldn't necessarily do it that way because then people will stop playing at 1700.
you're gonna ask about rating decay now. Yeah, so
Well,
basically,
people already do that. People do that already. with
People
top
do
threes,
that
though.
anyway.
People do
I never got that argument. Why would, like,
Yeah, it's not a good
people that
argument
got top
against it,
3s
because
pack
people
their
already
tunes
do
as
it.
well? Like, I don't get what is
Now, like
different.
with the
Yeah,
plat tier,
but that's
people would.
because of season length too.
Well,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I'm saying,
that's
with the
true,
plat tier,
that's a
people would
point.
still perk their tunes, but instead of it being relegated to only 3 people, literally anyone who managed to hit that threshold,
Yeah.
could then qualify for the plat rewards. And what that does, right, is it keeps people queuing until they can reach that threshold, because not everybody's going to reach 1700. Just literally by the way that Elo works, not everyone will reach 1700. For every person that
Of
gets
course.
there, other people had to have dropped. You know, so I think, like, what do you think about that system? Basically, get rid of top threes. Replace it with an entire tier of top threes, so to speak, minus the title.
I
That's just how
think
you
that's
would get
just
the plat tier.
easier to win trade.
In solo ranked,
in
I
solo?
don't know.
Well,
That's
So here's the
difficult.
thing: it might be easier to
if
reach and therefore easier to win trade as well, but
But it doesn't hurt anybody
you
else.
also don't hurt any legit
Yeah,
people.
yeah, that's a really
So
good.
you
that's
don't
the one.
take, like, last season top 3s, they still haven't been delivered. Like
Yeah,
they banned how many?
All of
7
them?
or 8?
Yeah.
Like 7 or 8 people that had a top 3 got banned 2 weeks afterwards, and the people that should have gotten them legitimately still don't have them, as far as I know, and that's a disaster.
What is
So,
your
I
opinion
mean,
about that, Cap? Because I haven't heard Caprica give his opinion yet.
For me, I might disagree a little bit on this one, and I'll tell you why. So for bronze, silver, and gold, those are specific numbers that players can target, and those are they're not relative measures of skill. If you get 1500 or 1550, whatever it is, you're gold. For me, when top threes are working how they should, I've always found them to be how do you stack up against the competition of your class? So it's a relative measure of skill. So being 1900 on sniper, how does that compare to your competitors? Which might be different than being 1900 on power tech, based off of whatever the meta is, whatever the skill is. I like
a good
top 3
argument, yeah.
being a relative title rather than you hit a number and you get platinum. That's just me.
Can I
For
check
what
it?
it's worth, that's exactly what Chris has said too. So because Chris did weigh in on this, and Chris said, basically, what happens if your class is dog shit that season, right? Do you just never have a chance at getting platinum? And does that kind of like fall where you are in your thoughts, Cap?
Yeah, to be a top sniper versus a top Mara versus a top PT, the rating might be different depending on where your class falls in the meta. But top 3 is meant to show in that season, again, as long as you played legit, you were the best among your peers in that class, and so you got a title for it, which I think is different than you hit 1700 and now you get the platinum rewards.
Yeah,
just my opinion. That's just me.
No, you're right.
Agree.
Like if
you're right.
If you have a ridiculously OP class, then you will just have 20 players of that class getting platinum, and then that's a problem. But if we have class balance like we have it right now, I don't think it's worse than a top 3 system.
Can I make a prolonged and abstract and probably impossible suggestion of something which could be fun? If you have let's say you have the 4 seasons spread out across the year, right? At Christmas time, they could do a top 3 tournament where they take one of each class and they assign them into fairly randomly made teams for solo ranked, as in they can put them on the private server, or you can do an EUNA, and then at the end of the year, when that is broadcast and streamed live, those people get the top 3s, and it's actually an annual event as opposed to a quarterly event with quarterly qualifiers.
You want to say actually organized
that's how the LWC works.
What? Did I hear that correctly?
That sounds like esports.
Yeah, that's esports. That's exactly how esports
sounds like
works.
esports.
Okay, so
you take the 5
it's
top
completely
5%
doable.
of yeah, of course it is. Like
it requires virtually, well, I want to say no effort. It'll require a lot of effort from just in terms of getting it greenlit, but it would make the rewards legitimate, and it would make it actually good. And
I would play TOR 24/7.
And let's be fucking honest, the SWTOR in the directory is dead as fuck, and this would actually revitalize this. I mean, they can get some PvP pros. They've got some PvP pros on the influencer program, so they could get like SWTORista and maybe Kid Lee to commentate, because they're going to be on point. And
obviously,
I think it could be good for everyone.
So basically, like, you have like qualifiers for spring, summer, fall, winter.
Yeah.
And then however you at the end of each season, you look at the leaderboards, you pick the top players from those qualifiers, and then you put them on PTS for solo ranked. That would be, and then you
would
stream
be
it.
so
That would be really
insane,
cool,
bro.
purely because then you wouldn't see any of the we got so and so their shit, etc. Right? Like,
but you do NA and EU as 2 separate entities because of ping. Otherwise, ping will be a constant complaint.
Yeah, but if you that would be a good idea purely because then there wouldn't be like, they got so and so, they got so and so. If you had to qualify all year for this once a year tournament, generally speaking, like, win traders aren't going to qualify 4 times in a row. You know?
Yeah, definitely not. That's the good point.
Yeah, well, so that's a good idea.
The better point about Kreia is if they do qualify, they're gonna get fucking bodied.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then you'd be ridiculed in the PvP community. That's what everybody wants. There you go.
You'd be clipped and shipped.
Yeah,
fucking happen.
It's an intriguing idea. I think it's a little pie in the sky. Like I don't know if
I don't think it's
they wouldn't do it. It would be cool.
I honestly want to stress to you, right, how easy that would be to implement. I just genuinely want to tell you flat out how easy mechanically that is to implement. Like, I've talked about doing a top 3 tournament. I'm a guy in my bedroom with a webcam and no fucking computer skills above like what I've got just streaming this. I could do that. So if they can't do that mechanically, then they've got fucking issues in-house. It's completely doable, and straight up, the only difficulty they're gonna have is casters and, like, you know, tone, I guess, would be the...
Yeah.
Like,
actually,
I can't cast it. Shaq's not casting it.
I couldn't, yeah. I would be cursing every 20 seconds.
you-
Holy
okay,
fuck, this
so
guy's
if
on
you go-
fire! What a play! I would be yelling around, dude.
Please don't downplay how
I'm
good
gonna
that
do
kind
it
of
with Caprica.
yeah. Don't
Really
downplay how
fast
good
to
that
do.
energy would
There
be.
we
You
go.
guys got a
Um,
much calmer demeanor than I have.
Like if you had Kreia,
wouldn't
the
do this
esport
for that.
professional, and Capri-Sun doing it, that would fucking work. Capri-Sun hasn't even sworn.
I would
once.
definitely take part in it, though. That
That'd
shit
be
would
fun
be
to
insane.
watch, dude. I would totally watch that. That would be amazing to watch.
Yeah,
And
that's
the-
basically the AWC equivalent of SWTOR, man. It couldn't
Basically,
get any more similar.
My
Only DPS
point,
invited.
well,
Oh, that would be so pog.
I would say only DPS.
Yeah, dude, because
yes.
otherwise that would just be team rank.
True, yeah.
Yep.
And you can do it with team
Exactly.
rank too. I mean, there's no reason for stopping that. The
I
point that
thi-
I want to
yeah.
make is right, and I really want to stress this point for everyone saying, "Oh, that's not possible," blah blah blah. It's only not possible through intent. It's very possible through, like, mechanically possible. In fact, it
Yeah,
I
is
mean, we could do it
course
as
not
players
fucking
right
hard.
now. We could literally take
It's true, it's
players with
hilarious.
top three.
Yeah.
Right now, we could take players with top threes, have them all go to the Rishi stronghold in that battle area, put them on teams of like randomized
Yep.
/ roll in an ops group, separate them team to team in that little battle ring, set up shitty LOS that doesn't work that great, but it's still better than nothing, and then have them go at it. You could do that right now as a player. It would take a lot of effort, but it could be done right now with no Bioware
Yeah,
intervention. So
I
Bioware
tried.
can totally do it.
I wanted to do the URC Invitational
Mhm.
December time, but there just isn't any interest. The problem with it is people don't want to sign up because like it's a fucking podunk tournament and it's not really in-game or recognition.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
exactly. As long as it's not official, you have more to lose than to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
Yeah, tell it to
You can
Alim, you got
lose
like
your-
300 quid off me.
sorry.
Tell it to Alim, you got like 300 pounds off me. Fucking URC tournaments.
Yeah, but like in-game reputation-wise, I mean,
Anyone who loses, they'll be called dog shit and not deserving of their title, and anyone
Yeah,
who wins will
exactly.
have bragging rights. But if it was
dude.
official, I mean, it's more
Yeah.
interesting, I think. But
and you
Well,
have
we should-
something to win.
And do you,
Yeah.
do you want to know
And
what the reward
honestly,
is?
like, just-
I'll tell you the reward. If you want to know the reward? I got 2 ideas for the reward.
Being invited is a reward enough, in my opinion.
Oh,
The top
absolutely.
3 flash should be the reward. That's it?
No, Shaq. No. This is even better than top 3.
Oh, there we go.
I'm going to give you 2 options. You change the name of the class trainer to the person who won of that respective class.
That's taking it too far, bro. Nobody died, man. Like, holy
Shaq.
shit.
Shaq Shas, you go and learn your skills on the fleet from Shaq Shas, the assassin trainer.
That would
But
be
I was
sweet, wouldn't
thinking about that as well. Like, what if
Or
you get
Payment
like,
channel.
what if there is like a Hall of Fame,
yeah,
and
you,
your character
what you do is you
put
take the
in
character,
that Hall of Fame?
you make an NPC
Be
out of it, you turn it into a statue. Boom. Check
And
it on-
then-
Old
check it
school,
on the
old
fleet.
school RuneScape does that.
Dude,
If
and then
freaking
they-
Java-based
and then
game can do
they
it,
say-
SWTOR can do it.
the
Yeah, and
only
then they
thing,
say appease. We are not appease, man.
the only thing that stops this from happening is intent.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
the
I
seasonal
agree.
was the best we got from this podcast. Like, the
I
seasonal
really want
idea
to
is
see
great.
seasonal, yeah.
This
I
top
think the
3
best
idea
thing-
is super great. That would be insane.
I think the best thing from this podcast is I've discovered that Capri-Sun is fucking phenomenal. So, thank you, Capri-Sun. Hopefully you'll
yeah,
come
thanks
back
for having me. It was
forever.
fun.
Better late than never, right?
Sarah C
He
is
made it, boys.
Sarah C's like, what? I used a webcam and you give me a fucking
Caprica's
drink,
getting
you
all the
piece of
praise.
shit.
Yeah, I made the mistake of like not using the face reveal on my own stream to get like that huge viewer boost for like 10
Oh,
seconds.
mate, no one watched this. I'm on troll. You're fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, you just do your Twitch.
All right,
video.
boys. I think that's it. Unless anyone has anything to add?
No, that was a
That was a
pretty
good
chill
discussion.
talk today. Yeah,
All
that
right.
was super
3.5 hours, I think we're good to go.
3 hours,
Yeah.
15 minutes. So thank you very much,
really?
everyone, for taking part. It is greatly appreciated.
Thank you for
Shaq
having us.
Shas, where can we find you?
Well, what's my Twitch? Wait, Twitch, check, and down
Kreia?
the bar under, and then Shas, yeah. Twitch.tv.
Shaq underscore Shas. Kreia is what? You at Kreia?
It's literally, yeah, it's just Kreia on Twitch.
Caprica?
What am I? I think I'm Caprica _ SWTOR.
And Sarah C?
It's gonna show up in a second on the Trovo
Oh,
stream
Sarah
chat.
C's fucking game
Five
the meta
head
right here.
with the 5 head
Yeah.
moves.
Fucking
5
hell,
He's
man.
ahead of the game, man.
Sarah C, I have one request for you. Could you please
Mhm.
style your hair like Night Train? And take your glasses off. I just want to see how similar you are.
I can try that soon, TM.
Yeah, nice.
That'll be like a subscriber award.
Yeah,
or
that's
something.
how you do it. Yeah, 100 subs, Night Train cosplay.
I'm not junky.
Yeah, that's a good one. No one is junkie man but himself.
All right, boys. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and take it easy.
Yeah, man.
Thanks,
See you.
man.